Gwe Akipchilida. Bonjour et bienvenue. Hello and welcome once again to Mainland Commons Field for the final game of day number 2 here at the 2023 Baseball Canada Women's Championship Tournament. Michael Petter here alongside, as always, Eric Fougere. And before we get into tonight's matchup, we should once again acknowledge Mainland Commons as well as the other diamond for this tournament, Weirfield, and for that matter, the entirety of HRM and the full province of Nova Scotia all lie within the ancestral unceded territory of Mi'kmaq. And tonight we've got a very big Pool B matchup. Manitoba coming in to this game with a 2-0 record after a pair of comeback victories. They were behind against Ontario yesterday, came back to win in a big way. They were behind against Quebec this morning and came back to win that one as well. So they are 2-0, taking on a Nova Scotia team that is 1-1. And with Ontario sitting at a 2-1 record right now, if Nova Scotia wins, that means a 3-way tie at 2-1, and this pool becomes anybody's game to win. And Eric, we've seen great ball, and we're going to see more of it again tonight.
Exciting baseball. We've had some great challenges and a great crowd here tonight. We've got the rafters are full, the fences are full. We see people even in the outfield watching this game, so great atmosphere for ball, and I think that these two teams, they understand what's at stake, and it'll be a very, very good game, I'm sure.
And let's talk about the standings as they stand right now, looking particularly at Pool B, because that is where this game is going to be played. We mentioned Manitoba's at 2-0, Ontario at 2-1, Nova Scotia at 1-1. Saskatchewan dropped a tough one against Quebec, the game that we just finished about 45 minutes ago. So they're now 1-2, and they're going to need a whole lot of help if they want to try and be in the top 2 of Pool B. Including they're going to need Manitoba to beat Nova Scotia to take Nova Scotia down to 2 losses, and then hope for Ontario to lose tomorrow, and then, depending on how all the tiebreakers end up playing out. Quebec right now sit in 5th place in Pool B, but they did get a victory, and it was a close one against Saskatchewan here just on this field, like I said, about 45 minutes ago.
Very competitive game, 5-3 finish. I think it's one of the tightest games that we saw in the tournament so far. Both teams understood what was at stake, right? So it was really a great game. And
you mentioned you were talking to the Quebec coaches after that game. They must feel about a million feet tall right now after that win.
They did, yeah. We had a good chat after the game. Wanted to give them some congratulations on a hard-fought win. They understand they're the Quebec 2 team, right? So a lot of their teams are developing, and some of the girls that they're playing out here are in their mid-20s. So the Quebec 2 team, the elder statement is 21, and then it drops to 19 right after that. So a very, very young team. We were both impressed with La Sorsa Godmer, who found out was a call-up, and a 16-year-old playing in this tournament was really, really effective. So great things to come from that team, I think, in the long run.
Absolutely, and for this matchup, we're going to look at 2 very, very good pitchers, and we'll get into who they are in a moment, because we've talked so much about pitching all weekend long. It's really become the theme of this tournament as to how good the pitching is, and as we've mentioned a couple times as well, with Team Canada playing a World Cup qualifying tournament in Thunder Bay coming up in a couple of weeks, some of these players are on Team Canada's radar for whether they're going to make that roster or not, and I can't think of anybody who hasn't made a strong case for the fact that they deserve to be a part of that conversation.
Absolutely. I think, and a lot of these girls, who are already on Team Canada, are competing against each other, from different provinces. So I think it's going to be, a great opportunity for our national team to actually do a lot of great scouting. And I'm sure they're impressed with some of the baseball that we've seen this weekend. Some really great talent. We both agreed upon that are out there and they mean business.
Nova Scotia is the home team for this game, so they'll take the field first. And Eric, I'll let you take us through the Nova Scotia defense.
Sure thing. Our pitcher today will be Ellie McCauley. She's also hitting first, so big responsibility.
We've seen how well she can hit in that #1 spot already as well.
Absolutely. Leah Copeland will be catching. At first base, you've got Carly Jackson. Second base, Katie Hagan. Third base, Carly Snow. The shortstop, Julia Konigtheib-Hofer. I have struggled with her name for some reason. In left field, you've got Jenna Jackson. Center, Ali Steinist. And of course, our right fielder tonight will be Tessa.
And they will be defending against a very good Manitoba lineup. We've dubbed them the Comeback Kids because they were trailing 9-3 against Ontario before they came back and won that game 16-9. They were trailing in that game against Quebec, had to come back and win that one as well. And the offense for Manitoba will be led by their catcher, batting first, Caitlin Culleton, batting second and playing second base, Jamie Johnson, batting third is the third baseman, Zoe Hicks, batting in the cleanup spot and pitching. You talk about hitting first and being the pitcher, hitting in the 4 spot and being the pitcher, equally challenging, and it's Mercedes Gorham who will be in that spot. Amber Baker bats fifth and will be playing first base. Caitlin Hepner, the shortstop, will be in the 6th spot in the batting order. And then 7, 8, and 9 will be the right fielder, Ella Holm, left fielder, Darby Poole, and center fielder, Ali Neufeld, as we reach 7:30, and it looks like we're going to have first pitch coming pretty much right on time for the adjusted time. This game was originally scheduled for a 7 o'clock start, but due to some issues with the scheduling of how games have gone throughout earlier in the day, we had to push this game back to 7:30, and now now because this game is also going to be on Eastlink television, we have to adjust our scheduling a little bit to accommodate TV, so we have to wait for the first pitch while Eastlink has a little bit of a pregame introduction with a man out on the field. Can't really play when you got TV guys standing on the field, so we just have to wait for them now.
Hey, the coverage is amazing. What this will do for ladies baseball, women's baseball is great. I know the stands, as I mentioned earlier, were crowded, but a bunch of teams in town for double headers in minor baseball. So, a lot of the young girls out here to cheer on Team Nova Scotia. So it's great to see.
And as somebody who's covered a lot of hockey games that Eastlink has also been covering, I'm used to having games sort of have to wait for the TV to work. And while we've got this quick pause as well, we'll introduce our umpiring crew for this game. It's going to be Martin Stubbs of Alberta behind the plate. And he doesn't have to call it. He sees a swinging strike by Caitlin Culleton with the first pitch coming at 7:32. Katrina Cadet of Ontario is the first base umpire, and Darcy Garrison of right here in Nova Scotia will be umpiring at third base for this game. And this crew, like all of the 3-person crews that we've had, we've talked about it a lot. They've been doing a great job. And with a 1-1 count right now, I'm going to give you a chance to sing those umpires' praises as well.
Absolutely. It's so consistent, the umpiring through all of these games, and even in times when they got things wrong, they weren't afraid to go back and correct things.
Oh. As we get the first foul ball. It never happens when you guys aren't here.
Yeah, we've been safe all day.
Yeah. Eastlink shows up and we get a foul ball right at us. Eastlink isn't here and we're completely safe. So don't blame us. That one misses high, 2-2. It's only when you guys are here that we have trouble with foul balls, as Eastlink and us sharing a tent up here in our beautiful broadcast position. And I got to say, Cecil and Dan, a couple of fantastic baseball announcers, so professional. As that one into center field, it'll drop into that little no man's land triangle between the center fielder, left fielder, and shortstop. And a leadoff single for Caitlin Culleton gets this game going in the right direction for Team Manitoba. That'll bring up Jamie Johnson, the second baseman.
Jamie Johnson, 23 years old, hails from Arborg, Manitoba.
Which, my Manitoba geography, one of the provinces that I have not lived in, out of Western Canada. I have lived in BC, I've lived in Alberta, lived in Saskatchewan, lived in Ontario, although I don't really remember it because it was before I was even 3 years old. So, you know, those provinces, I know the geography a lot better. Nova Scotia, of course, having lived here for the last 17 years, but Manitoba, never lived there. Do have some friends from Winnipeg, but so I'm not going to be, except for the bigger centers, which of course have hockey teams, not going to be able to give you a whole lot out of that.
Good pitch.
Very nice pitch there by Ellie McCauley. Her first, I believe it's her first time pitching in this tournament. I don't remember her being on the
I
mound.
haven't seen her yet, no.
No,
Done
she,
all 3 of their games so far.
yeah, she only has played center field up to this point, getting her first time on the mound. There's a swing and a miss, and McCauley gets a strikeout of Johnson, and that will be the first out of inning number 1. That'll bring up Zoe Hicks. Hicks yesterday had a couple of big blasts for Manitoba, or not yesterday, earlier this morning.
Yeah.
Had a couple of big blasts for Manitoba. A very dangerous hitter playing third base. And like we mentioned earlier in a couple of our other broadcasts, we're having a little bit of an issue with Game Changer being able to pull up tournament stats, so we're not going to be referencing those. We will reference some things that we've seen in games, but we won't be trying to pull up stats for players over the overall tournament. As that one misses in the dirt, but another great job as once again Leah Copeland, she's been behind the plate for just about every inning of Nova Scotia's defensive side of games, and she has taken a beating back there, but
doesn't look worse for wear though.
no, she continues to battle hard and get in front of all those balls, so good on her. 2-0 the count here to Hicks. And there's a bomb out towards right field, but right at the right fielder, Tessa Hood. And so that's a loud out number 2 here with in the first inning.
Hicks continues to have really good contact.
And that'll bring up Mercedes Gorham.
Mercedes Gorham.
And comes up here with 1 on and 2 away in this top of the first inning. Just getting underway here. A beautiful, beautiful evening. Hardly a cloud in the sky right now. And that one launched out to center field, but able to get underneath it is Ali Stymist for the 3rd out. So a leadoff single, but then after that, 3 straight outs for Team Nova Scotia. So no runs on 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on base. We played half an inning, and it is Nova Scotia coming to bat with the score tied at 0-0. And we'll take a look at the defensive alignment coming out onto the field for Team Manitoba, and it's going to start with the pitcher Mercedes Gorham, who made that last loud out of the top of the first inning, and she's going to be throwing her pitches towards Caitlin Culleton behind the plate. Batting around the infield, the left side of the infield is 3rd baseman Zoe Hicks and shortstop Caitlin Hepner. The right side of the infield, 2nd base Jamie Johnson, and at 1st base Amber Baker. And around the outfield from left to right, it is Darby Poole in left, Allie Neufeld in center, and Ella Holm in right. And Eric, if you could take us through the batting order of Team Nova Scotia.
Hitting first, pitching, Ellie McCollum. The center fielder, Ali Steinist, will be a 2nd hitter. Julia Koningshofer will still be 3rd hitter. Carly Snow in the 4th spot, who's really deserved it.
Oh, yes.
Carly Jackson will follow her. Katie Hagan, Leah Copeland to follow that. Tessa Hood, and rounding it out, Jenna Jackson will be our 9th hitter.
And this the 2nd time in the tournament we've had both pitchers be in the hitting lineup. The other one was, I think, last night's game as well, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right, yeah.
Of course, you know, this being now our 8th game to do, you know, it's hard to remember which one. Which one was it that happened, and what happened in that one? And
was it today? Was it yesterday?
Yeah. And especially, you know, for teams like, you know, Nova Scotia, we've had all of their games on this field. Manitoba, they played one of their games over at Weir. Quebec, too, of course, we saw all 4 of their round-robin games here. One team we haven't actually seen yet is Alberta.
That's right.
And I'm going to pick a bone with Baseball Canada here for a second. I did the senior men's nationals last year, and Alberta played all of their games on the field that I wasn't at, and they didn't make the playoffs, so I never saw them at all. Now this year, Alberta, 2 of their first 2 games, didn't get to see them. We will see them tomorrow. but that's, you know, 2 tournaments that Baseball Canada does, and I don't get to see the team from one of the provinces that I lived in growing up. Just the, you know, the quirks of the schedule, the way it works out.
Good.
And Macaulay with a loud hit, but it's right at the left fielder, Darby Poole. So Poole there to make the catch. She only had to move about 2 or 3 steps to get under that ball from Ellie Macaulay. So a quick first out. That'll bring up Ali Stymus, the center fielder for Nova Scotia. And of course, you know, anytime I make a comment like that, you know, I don't want people taking me too seriously, thinking I'm being too negative.
It's not a controversy.
Yeah. You know, I like to make most of my humor self-deprecating, but every now and then I, you know, try to poke a little bit of fun with somebody else. But it's all in meant to be in good nature anyway.
Absolutely.
As the first pitch to Ali Stymus misses low, 1-0. But I have to say, I am looking forward to our first look at Alberta tomorrow. Really excited to see them. And as they got their first win earlier today against Ontario 1, excuse me. There's a grounder to short, gathered in by Hepner across the diamond in time. And Amber Baker, very solid there at first base. Nice stretch. Not that she really needed to give that extra stretch to make the catch, but Baker very, very solid defensively at first base for Manitoba.
I was impressed with her this morning. Made a few really good plays and really swung the bat well as well.
And that'll bring up the shortstop, Julia Konigshofer. Now, I've heard a couple of different pronunciations of her name. I've heard Konigshofer as well as Konigshofer. So
no wonder I'm having a hard time.
that's why. It's because you know, you hear it said differently. I think it is actually the Konigshofer, I think. So I'm going to switch what I've been saying and go with that, because that's what the guys on Eastlink have been using, and they know a few of these players a little bit better than we do. So that one misses outside, and 2-0 the count on Konigshofer. No ball, or nobody on, 2 out here in the bottom of the first inning. And grounder down to third, gathered up by Hicks. Hicks across the diamond in time, and a quick 1-2-3 inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. We've played one complete, and still looking for the first run of this game. And the last game that we had, it was a pitcher's duel. It was a close game all the way through, and if this start is any indication, we're in for more of the same here between Mercedes Gorham and Ellie Macaulay here tonight.
I think that's a good analogy. I definitely want to see you know, good tight games. You like exciting baseball. You want it to come down to the very end, right? You don't want to, you know, unfortunately last night Nova Scotia, you know, didn't get past the 5th inning, but I'm sure they're ready to make up for that tonight.
Well, and part of not getting past the 5th inning, weather was
oh boy, yeah.
Was part of that, as we had fog rolling in throughout much of the evening.
And very windy yesterday.
And very windy yesterday. Here, we had a little bit of wind in the afternoon. There's still some wind out there, but not nearly as much as we saw yesterday. And right now, you're hard pressed to find a cloud out there in the sky above Mainland Common Field. So hopefully, and we'll, you know, knock on wood, that means we're in for a good, clear evening of baseball here tonight. Due up in the top of the second for Manitoba. It's that nice defensive first baseman that we talked about, Amber Baker leading it off, followed by Caitlin Hepner and Ella Holm rounding it out as the first three. And if anybody gets on, then Darby Poole to face Ellie Macaulay for Team Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia, as we mentioned, 1-1. They started off with a very impressive 12-6 win over Team Quebec 2 in their opener and the tournament opener yesterday morning, and then that tough loss, as you mentioned, against Saskatchewan, 12-2 in just 5 innings. The fact that they haven't had to play yet today, and Manitoba had a game earlier today, I don't think it's going to play a major factor in this game, but it is something to at least mention that Nova Scotia hasn't played in about 24 hours, and Manitoba is playing their second game of the day.
Yeah, many of these girls get to go home, rest in their own beds, while you know, the Manitoba team is staying in a hotel, right? So that definitely makes a difference.
And, you know, staying in a hotel, and they had to be up for the first game of the day today at 10 o'clock, and then, you know, you're trying to get into a routine and a rhythm, and then you're playing at 10 o'clock, and then you finish that game, and you have to sort of get yourself downtime, and then back up again to play in a game that was originally scheduled for 7 o'clock and ends up being at 7:30. And that one ends up missing as the first pitch to Amber Baker misses outside. 1-0 the count. And you've been around baseball a long time. When you're in a tournament situation like this and you're playing, 2 games in a day, and I'll get you this in a minute, as the grounder to second, and over to Carly Jackson at first base from Katie Hagan, and a quick first out there. When you're coaching a team that has to play a game maybe earlier in a day and then get that downtime in the middle and then again later in the day, what sort of things do you do to try and help players manage the emotional up and down of playing, off playing?
I think the post-game meeting is always important. You have to have a good conversation to talk about things that went wrong and went right in that game. Focus on the positive as always, but not be afraid to address the negative, and then make sure that your players don't end up all jumping in the pool. I probably coached a lot of the younger kids, right? Yeah. So when you're in a hotel on the road, there's a pool in the building, it becomes fun time, right? So I know these are adults mostly and grown women, but you want to try to make sure that they stay focused, right? And
showing bunt on the first pitch was Hepner, and she bunted through the ball. Second one, she takes a swing and gets just a piece of it, so 0-2 the count here quickly on Hepner. Caitlin Hepner, the shortstop for Team Manitoba. She pitched quite a bit in the game this morning and pitched very well for Team Manitoba.
Very solid shortstop as well.
Another one of those players. And when Baseball Canada is looking at players that they're going to bring into their lineup, that's the sort of thing. Can they play a position in the field as well as pitch so that they can be used in multiple different ways? And will they be smart on the base paths, and will they be good hitters? There's so many things that Baseball Canada has to look at, and when you're playing at this type of a level, you can't be a one-trick pony, to use that analogy.
Absolutely, the Swiss Army knife is what you have to be.
As that one misses high and inside. 1-2 now the count on Hepner. Hepner, her 10th year playing with Team Manitoba. She was on Team Canada in 2017 as well. So, and another one of those students who's in looking at medical school, medical radiological technology program. As that one is over the head of the right fielder, left fielder, excuse me, Jenna Jackson, and it's easy stand-up double for Hepner, as she shows that not only does she have a glove and an arm, but she's got a bat as well.
Absolutely.
So that'll bring up Ella home.
She's from Winkler, Manitoba as well.
From,
Winkler, Manitoba.
Winkler, home of the Flyers. Again, if there's a town that's got a junior hockey team, I'm going to know it.
Yeah. Ella home from Stonewall.
Stonewall does not have its own junior hockey team, but I believe they have a U18 team that plays out of there, if I remember correctly. And there's first pitch strike. And, one of the things that we haven't really talked about all the conversations we had about pitching, but how important first pitch strikes are.
You want to get ahead of that hitter.
And that one to the shortstop, Connick Schofer, able to get it across the diamond to Jackson in time for the second out. And good heads-up base running there by Hepner, not trying to take a chance and head to third. She'll stay at second base for Team Manitoba. That brings up Darby Poole. Poole came into the game this morning as a replacement, pitched, was the second pitcher for Team Manitoba. Had a little bit of trouble on the mound this morning against Quebec.
Yep.
And for this game, she'll be playing out in left field. First pitch to Poole misses low, ball one. Hepner still at at second base, excuse me. As McCauley gets herself set, the 1-0 pitch.
Ooh.
Grounder right to the third baseman. Throw across the diamond, and it ends up short hopping Jackson. That'll get by her. which allows Hepner to come around and score. So a key error there, the throwing error from Carly Snow, allows Manitoba to get the first run of the game here in the top of the second inning.
I think if Snow had just looked up and checked her runner, she would have seen how close she had to play there.
Yeah. And that will put Nova Scotia out, put Manitoba, excuse me, out in front here in the first inning, or second inning.
Good pitch.
And there's a strike, and count 0-1 there on Ali Neufeld, the center fielder tonight. She did not play in the game this morning. And again, we can't really reference full tournament stats. We can only reference what we saw in the game this morning from Manitoba. That one misses high, 1-1. And that was a tough play there for Snow. And like you said, if she had taken a quick look, she might have seen that there was a chance to have a tag play instead of the throw across the diamond. Copeland, another nice dig out of the dirt to save that one. 2-1 now the count on Neufeld. But Nova Scotia, it's only the second inning. They are going to have time to get their bats to work.
It's still early.
And the 2-1 in the zone. It's now 2-2 on Neufeld. McCauley gets herself set. Now the 2-2, swing and a miss. And the ball does get away from Copeland, so she's going to have to throw down to Jackson to finish it off, as she does. So 1 run on 1 hit, there was 1 error. The run, therefore, is unearned. And after 1.5 innings, it is Manitoba leading Nova Scotia now by a score of 1-0. And for Nova Scotia due up in the bottom of the second.
Well, we start at the cleanup spot with Carly Snow. Carly Jackson will be the second hitter. Katie Hagan will be third, and Leah Copeland may round it all out in the 4th spot.
It is no big surprise. Mercedes Gorham right back out there onto the mound. Her pitch is still in the single digits, so she's got plenty of room to work with. And
I think it's 6.
Hard to tell if that's a 6 or an 8.
Maybe an 8 sounds more right.
Yeah.
The pitch count for Nova Scotia is 16 for a total of 28.
And Nova Scotia's pitcher McCauley only 28 through the first 2 innings, so that's certainly economical as well. We've talked about the Pool B standings. Let's talk about Pool A, because we talked about Alberta a little bit. They've got a big game tomorrow against Quebec. BC is 2-0. We know they're going to finish first. We know they're going to have a spot in the semifinals. Ontario, unfortunately for them, they're 0-2. A tough loss against Quebec, a tough loss against Alberta. They're 0-2. They will be playing in placement games, and we'll go through the whole scenarios of how the placement games play out a little bit later. Again. But for Quebec and Alberta, they are both 1-1. So the winner of that game finishes second in the pool. The loser of that game finishes third, which is important for a number of reasons. The biggest of which is you finish second, you get a bye directly to the semifinal, and you don't have to worry about playing until on Sunday morning. If you finish third, you have to play in a quarterfinal later on Saturday. So not only are you playing a second game on the same day, but you're playing one more game than every other Pool A team to try and get to the championship.
Yeah, and you have to get up next day, start it all over.
So whoever wins that game between Quebec and Alberta, they get the rest of the day off, and whoever loses that game is going to have to, regroup and find a way to bounce back from a loss in a quarterfinal game against whoever finishes second in this pool. And there's a hard hit ball by Snow that gets through the second baseman Johnson.
Carly's making it into 2.
And it also goes all the way to the wall. And Carly Snow, who
she's been red hot,
continues to hit well for Team Nova Scotia. Snow actually from PEI, though. This Team Nova Scotia, it's called Team Nova Scotia, but it really is Team Atlantic, as they've got a couple of players from PEI, a couple of players from New Brunswick. But, and Snow, if I remember correctly, is one of those players from PEI.
Right.
I want to say
trying to remember.
I want to say Summerside, yes.
Yeah, the Summerside PI.
So that brings Carly Jackson.
We have a couple of players from PI, a couple of players also from New Brunswick and Newfoundland. So unfortunately, they don't have enough players to field a full team. So we're quite happy to host them in Nova Scotia's team.
We'll call it Team Nova Scotia, but it really is Team Atlantic. And you know, you look at events of this nature and just population base alone.
Yeah.
You know. Atlantic Canada, you put all of Atlantic Canada together and it still doesn't have anywhere near the population of an Ontario or a Quebec.
Well,
so
even just Montreal, right?
There you go, yeah.
Montreal and Toronto, yeah, that already dwarfs a bit of the all of the Atlantic provinces.
But, you know, the Atlantic provinces have shown that they mean business when they come to events like this. And whether it's, you know, a Canada Games event where you have to be from your own province or an event like this where, because it is technically an invitational, that's what allows that little bit of extra leeway for Team Nova Scotia. And there's a strike taken by Jackson, the count now 2-1. And the fact that they call it an invitational still doesn't take anything away from this tournament.
You still need to deserve to be here. It doesn't mean you pay your entrance fee that you get in, right?
Yeah. So Carly Jackson gets a piece of that one, but fouls it off over the Manitoba dugout, and that will go out of play. So the count now, I believe, is 2-2.
That's right.
And Mercedes Gorham, the right-handed pitcher for Manitoba, gets herself settled in, and here comes the pitch. And that one will miss high, and the count runs full, 3-2. And when talking about this pitcher Gorham for Manitoba, you mentioned she's from, is she one? No, she's not from Winkler. She's from, oh, we lost her sheet. There's a swing and a miss, and Jackson goes down swinging for the first out of the inning. That will bring up Katie Hagan.
Saint-Pierre-Joly is where Gorham is from, age 19, and of course also plays shortstop. We all
yes,
know.
We saw her in that spot yesterday. Katie Hagan now comes in, second base today. She's played a little bit of pitcher, she's played a little bit of shortstop, and like we've mentioned, to be able to be on a team like this, you got to be able to fit into more than just one spot, because if you've only got a roster of 12 or 13 players, you've got to be able to mix and match and fit people in more than one place. So any player who's got those extra skills, it's valuable.
It's absolutely valuable, especially in tournaments like this where you've got to maximize your pitching, right?
There's a grounder to the third baseman. Looks Snow back to the bag and then gets the throw across.
Nice play by Baker to catch.
What a stretch by Baker. Amber Baker stretches out and makes the catch on that throw. Nice play again by Hicks. Looking Snow back to the bag.
She even made a pump fake.
Yeah, and then getting the throw across. Knew that she had enough time with Hagan running. Hagan's a fast runner, but Hicks still knew she had time to make sure that she got that runner back, and then fired across, and a strike that Baker, again, the stretch, that's just phenomenal. That'll bring up the catcher, Leah Copeland. Copeland takes a strike. And you know that's when she's the catcher in the next half inning, she's going to want that same call. And we've talked about it all tournament long. These umpires have been so consistent with what they've been calling.
Ooh, pass ball.
And that's going to allow Snow to get down to third. So the potential tying run now just 90 feet away. Yeah, there we go. And as we've said before, if there's a discrepancy between what you know to be the accurate stats and what you see on your screen, it's because we haven't hit the buttons yet.
Yeah.
And I'll use the royal we there to say that we haven't hit them.
I get it.
Usually, most of the time when I'm doing a game, I'm working kind of by myself, so I've got to do the computer and do. I've had times where I've had to do the computer and do the play-by-play and do the camera all at the same time.
Yeah, well.
So you know, if I'm missing a button here, there, yeah, this is a piece of cake. And of course, that's doing hockey as well, where you know you're getting back and forth, and Copeland gets one right in the thigh there. And
but doesn't seem worse for wear.
No.
Sprinted down to first.
But you know that one's going to leave a mark. That brings up Tessa Hood. And, you know, I always like to mention, you know, on a hit by pitch like that or on a play like that that happens, no intent. That was not a,
This is one of those, you know, major league, you threw at my guy, I'll throw at yours kind of situation.
No, not at all. You know, these are still, you know, relatively young players who are still learning, and there's going to be a ball that gets away from them from time to time, and you know it happens.
Sometimes you got to pitch inside, and you know sometimes you don't get that target you want.
And there's a first pitch strike thrown to the right fielder Tessa Hood, coming off the mound from Mercedes Gorham. So runners on the corners, 2 away here, bottom of the second inning. Manitoba, with a run in the top of inning number 2, has the lead as the shadows start to stretch. And we can say that today. Yesterday we didn't see shadows at all, but today they do stretch. And
Copeland still second. No challenge.
Speed from the catcher, although when it's first and third, Manitoba electing not to throw down just to make sure that Snow stays at third base.
You want to concede that for sure.
Although Copeland did get a good jump, whether there had been a throw or not,
absolutely.
it would have been close.
She meant business.
And Hood gets a hold of that one, but not deep enough, as it will be caught by the right fielder, Ella Holm. So Tessa Hood with the loud third out there. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, 2 runners left on base. We've played 2 complete here in Mainland Commons Field, and the score, Manitoba 1, Nova Scotia 0. We'll go to the top of the third with Manitoba back at the top of their order. Caitlin Culleton, excuse me, Jamie Johnson, and Zoe Hicks. And if anybody gets on, it's the cleanup hitter, Mercedes Gorham. So we've talked about the standings in each of these pools. We've talked a lot about pitching, but let's talk a little bit about some of the other defense and some of the other players who've really impressed us, not just on these teams, but on some other teams as well. And I'm going to start with a player on Saskatchewan who has really impressed me defensively, and that was Heather Healy.
Oh, yeah.
She played some center field yesterday. She pitched a little bit yesterday. She played shortstop today. Heather Healy, you know, just mentioning those 3 positions, outfield, pitcher, and infield, and she has been solid at all 3.
She seemed natural in every position. I have to completely agree. I like Baker.
Baker is fantastic, yeah.
Really great playing first. Shortstop for Saskatchewan as well. I can't remember her name.
The shortstop from game number 1, Fredland, who then pitched in the second game.
Yes.
Mackenzie Fredland, yeah.
Played really well. Good positioning. The BC shortstop as well. Seiki, yes. Yeah. Who is originally from Tokyo.
Yes.
She looks like a ball player.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all genders confused. She just looks like a ball player.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the broadcast of that BC game earlier today, she's going to be moving back home to Tokyo after this tournament ends. So, you know, and
bittersweet for her.
Yes, but at the same time, you got to think that Baseball Japan has to be going, okay, yes, move home, come on.
Exactly, we'll find a spot for you, for sure.
Yeah. So, and, you know, in this game, we mentioned Baker already. Another player for Nova Scotia who I've really liked defensively, we talked about Copeland, but out in the outfield, Ali Stymist, the center fielder, she has been
so much ground.
Oh, yeah.
Always makes the right call, always seems to be in the right position. Really keeping runners in check as well. So things that get through, she gets it back in and accurately, and people don't challenge her arm.
And we've seen a few center fielders with good arms that.
Well, you get to play center fielder if you have a good arm, right?
That brings Caitlin Culleton up to the plate here to start off inning number 3. Culleton led off the game with a single. Back in the first inning, she ended up being stranded at first base.
She's a 23-year-old from Vassar, Manitoba.
Comparatively a veteran in this tournament. That one out to center field. Stymist backing up, and as we talked about, Allie Stymist positionally, and that shows the quality of the coaching as well, is that the players have been positioned so well that they haven't had to move a lot sometimes. So
you can tell that they're driving the fundamentals, because the first step back on outfield plays to give you a chance to judge that ball, and all of the right little things that make a player that much more efficient. The coaches have been doing a fantastic job. I don't think we've mentioned them enough in this tournament.
You're right, we have been remiss there, and and when I was talking to the Kate Soda of the national team, one of the assistant coaches there, one of the things that she mentioned was, the coaching at the grassroots level has been so good, which really helps when players get to that senior national level.
Well, credit to Baseball Canada, and in all Canadian sports. They have a very strong coaching program to make sure that you're growing as a coach as well as your players, so that you're learning the right fundamentals at the right levels. I know that last year I had to bone up on a whole bunch of classes to make sure that I was legal, of course, to be able to coach at the 14U level. So I was at 11U, so it was great. Baseball Canada takes that quite seriously. But Coaching Canada in general, because a lot of these the courses that you take as a coach are fundamental things, as good team spirit and team play, and a lot of psychological things as well. So
when you're coaching a youth team, child psychology, they call it child psychology, but really it's youth and developmental psychology.
Nice strikeout, by the way.
As that's the second time Jamie Johnson has gone down on strikes, second out of the inning. And that'll bring up Zoe Hicks. Hicks with the bomb to right field her first time up, but it ended up being allowed out. And so number 33, and I think we made this comparison in the first game, wearing the number of Jose Canseco. And a lefty just like Canseco was.
Hopefully less juiced up.
Oh, definitely. I think we've learned enough about the perils of that.
Yeah, of course.
And playing at this level, it's not the same. So you're not talking about becoming a multimillionaire and
yeah, they're playing for the love of the game and the pride of the name on the jersey. And the name on the jersey is the one in the front, not the one in the back.
Exactly. So an 0-1 count here on Zoe Hicks. That one misses inside, 1-1 now the count. As Macaulay continues to pitch effectively and efficiently here.
I love Mookie Betts.
And that one misses high and inside, 2-1 the count. Over on Eastlink, they're talking about how much, or how Zoe Hicks has Mookie Betts listed as her favorite player. So,
well, she's part of the Dodgers organization, so that's definitely very impressive.
Yeah. This pile.
Yeah, that's the wrong one. Got two in
there we go.
There we go.
As now 2-2 the count on Zoe Hicks.
Yep, she's minor league baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. So
that
good
is
for her.
Phenomenal. And we see women getting more and more positions in coaching and in management in men's professional sports.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing with the WNBA sort of being the spearhead, we are seeing more and more women's sports getting into the forefront. You're seeing it now, the NWSL in soccer. You're seeing the professional hockey players, the women's league, especially now the new arrangement between the PWPA PHA and what was called the Premier Hockey Federation. So there's going to be a newly formed league there together between those two organizations, and give credit to the major networks as well, because they are recognizing and adopting the fact that fans want to watch.
Absolutely.
Because it is such good, high-quality sport. Full count, 2 away here to Zoe Hicks. And Hicks takes that one inside.
Drop this hitter.
So a 2-out walk will bring Mercedes Gorham up to the plate. And one other thing that I want to mention really quickly for helping to develop the game is the back girls. The fact that a bunch of local girls have been given the opportunity to be a part of these teams, and I know we talked a little bit in one of the previous games about the fact that your daughter gets to be one of them, but this is such a great experience for them to get to hang out with these high-level players and learn from them and be able to bring that back to their youth games.
And I love that my daughter said that she's back there for the Quebec team. Quebec won, and they've really adopted her as a little sister. So she really feels like she's part of the team and part of the dugout. They bring her out for the handshakes and everything. So it's really great to see how the current generation of ball players is making sure they're fostering the future generation.
And that's just another one of those things that Holly Blanchette adds to a tournament when she's organizing it. And we've sung her praises a lot, and it doesn't matter how much we sing her praises, we're not doing it.
We're not doing it.
Yeah, she's. I jokingly said to her earlier today, have you been nominated for sainthood yet? And there's a strikeout, and with a runner already occupying first base, and it was the second out of the inning anyway, or that was the third out of the inning. So no runs, no hits, no errors. One runner left on base, as there was a base runner as a result of a walk, but it will go to the bottom of the third with the score still 1-0 in favor of Team Manitoba. And for Nova Scotia, it's 9-1-2 due up.
Well, our first hitter should be Jenna Jackson, followed by Ellie McCollum, Ali Steinest, and Julia Konigshofer.
And sorry, that's another situation there where that's my writing is to blame. That's a Y at the end. Ellie McCauley.
Oh, is it Ellie McCauley? I'm sorry.
And
I should know by now. This is my third game with Team Nova Scotia.
But I will take the blame on that. That was my Y that looked more like an M. So true story. Just to talk about how my penmanship has improved. When I was in grade 2, I was nearly held back. Not because I was reading at beyond grade level, I was doing math at beyond grade level, but my printing was so messy that my teacher talked to my parents, and my parents said no way, no how, but she talked to my parents about possibly holding me back and making me do another year of grade 2 because my printing was so messy, I couldn't prove how much I actually knew in my math and in my reading and writing. At that time, my parents looked at it and said, well, he's going to go to med school.
Career in medicine.
But the sight of blood, I never would have lasted.
I think it's going to school till you're 28, probably not a bad for me.
That certainly would have been a factor as well. And if I hadn't gone into the Bachelor of Education program that I did, I never would have met my wife either. So I'll count that as a good decision. Jenna Jackson leading things off here in the bottom of the third inning. She's the number 9 batter for Nova Scotia. So the last player that we get to see for the first time tonight out of the 18 starters, at least as far as comes to being at the plate. And takes the first pitch low, ball 1.
Jenna from Kentville, not too far from here.
Yeah, just up in the valley.
Yep, age 26.
So that lets me know for sure that not a sister of Carly. Grounder to second, over to first in time, and Baker another nice stretch.
Yeah, Baker's so solid at first.
Jamie Johnson's throw a little bit off to the side, but Baker so sure-footed and sure-handed that
probably have to battle a bit of the sun too. It's really low right now and probably at eye level.
Yeah, very much so. And you can see that Baker's got the sunglasses on right now and needed them on that play. Ellie McCauley coming up now. She's up for the second time flew out to left field her first time up as the shadows continue to get longer here at the beautiful Mainland Commons Field. Swing and a miss. And McCauley behind in the count here, 0-1. So we talked about it earlier here, the importance of getting that first pitch strike, and both of these pitchers, McCauley and Gorham, doing that quite a bit. And there's a first and a second pitch strike. The count now 0-2 on McCauley.
Yeah, Gorham's been pitching very, very efficiently, making sure that every pitch is, well, they're always close to the zone. She hasn't seemed to have thrown anything away yet.
Here comes the 0-2. That one popped foul. And coming over and not quite able to make the grab was Caitlin Culleton. Great effort by Culleton, but just couldn't quite get her glove on that ball. She
chased it down. She was there, just right off the end of her glove. Give her an outfielder's glove, she would have caught that.
Oh yes, absolutely. That catcher's mitt, you know, you need that extra padding when you got those fastballs coming in, but it makes it so difficult to try and catch a pop-up like that. And now the count remains 0-2 for McCauley. Gorham, excuse me, delivers, and that one bounces in. And that's the first one that we've really seen that has gotten away from Gorham here so far this evening. And you know, when you get all the way to the third inning and you get your first one that kind of gets away from you, I think that one away. 1-2 now the count. That one misses high. The count now 2-2. At one of those purpose pitches where, you know, you throw it high to see if you can get a hitter to chase one out of the zone.
The advantage of being ahead of the count, right?
Yeah. So now 2-2. As Gorham gets set and delivers. And a line shot right back up the middle. That'll reach the outfield for Ellie McCauley. And so now the Nova Scotia gets a runner on first base with one away. That'll bring up Allie Stymist. Stymist 0 for 1. She grounded out to short her first time up.
Number 21, Allie Stymist.
So 1 on, 1 out here. 1 run the margin in this game in favor of Manitoba here in this third inning. For Nova Scotia, they do have 1 game left in their round-robin tournament, and it will be tomorrow at 12 o'clock or 12:30. We double-check on that. It is a 12 o'clock scheduled start. They'll be taking on Ontario 2, and depending on the result of this game...
I think she fell on her.
Did the throw end up hitting McCauley, or did McCauley land awkwardly as she went to slide back in?
Maybe Baker fell on her? It was hard to see.
Hard to tell for sure.
Try to steal the replay from our friends at East Lake. Oh, yeah, the ball hit her right in the... right in the kidneys.
Oh. So we'll have a bit of a timeout here while Ellie McCauley gets looked at and
gets up, brushes herself off. True ball player fashion.
Yeah. You know, we made the comment yesterday about comparing hockey players and baseball players to soccer players. I'm going to throw in another one, basketball players, and how much they stay down.
Yeah.
You know.
They only play 48 minutes a game.
Although if you remember the scene from Airplane, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know, I spent 48 minutes running up and down the court every night.
Dragging Bill Lambier.
Yeah. But Ellie McCauley, she's going to stay right in there at first base with 1 on, 1 out. Allie Stymist.
That's important there if she's pitching, right?
Exactly.
Keep her in there.
Yeah.
Ellie Steinmetz is one of those out-of-province players joining us from Moncton.
Right. That is correct, yeah. Pretty close to the border, but
Yeah, close.
close enough. We'll adopt her as a Nova Scotian anyway. Swing and a miss there, the count 0-1. And actually, I remember at that 16U tournament that we've talked about, she was one of the players for Team New Brunswick. That tournament did have a representative team for each province. And Steinmetz was one of the players for Team New Brunswick in that tournament. And I remember her being, I would say, maybe the best player on Team New Brunswick in that tournament. The count on her now 0-1 as we get time called. As the count here 0-1. Listening to the stories being told just next to us here on Eastlink.
These guys should go on the road together.
That one misses down in the dirt, but another nice play by the catcher Culleton.
Yep.
And we saw her. She was behind the plate this morning and behind the plate again here this evening. She's another one who, has to work hard and does a good job.
Yeah, carrying that equipment all day long. This morning was quite hot, and it's nice and cool this evening. But playing with that gear on in the heat, not an easy thing.
Well, there's a reason that in the professional ranks, most times if you have a day game after a night game, it's not going to be the same catcher. As the throw from Culleton, a good effort there, but a great jump for McCauley, and she's able to get the steal, so she's into scoring position. The count 2-1 now on Steinmetz.
Still just went out.
Gorham with a look back. Now she'll get the sign. Another check on McCauley. Long look back at McCauley there. Now she'll deliver. And Steinmetz fouls that one right back into the screen behind home plate. Here at this beautiful Mainland Commons field. I know we've mentioned it a few times, but some things bear repeating. And and we talked about it in an earlier game, but for the people who didn't hear that, they need to hear it again. The volunteers who have been working on the grounds crew, as the grounds crew have been phenomenal.
Absolutely. They're dragging between every game. They're making sure the lines are fresh between every game, and lots of diligence up there.
As that one rolls down the first base line, but it will end up in foul territory.
Good battle here.
And even though the ball had completely stopped moving and had no way of getting back into fair territory, Ali Steinmetz did not stop running until the ball was touched and it was deemed as a foul.
Every coach he's ever had is proud of that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
You start teaching that right from T-ball on up.
When you don't run after not hitting the ball with contact, that drives me nuts. I would bench players.
Yeah, I remember my first year of T-ball, my dad was my coach, and he said, if you make contact with that ball, you are running.
Exactly. Fair or foul. You leave that box with purpose.
Yeah.
Oh.
Throw back.
Nice.
And sneaky move there by the shortstop, Hepner, to get in behind McCauley. But McCauley able to dive her way back in to the bag. And so she's still alive there at second base. 2-2 the count here on Steinmetz. Again, long checks of McCauley. Steinmetz gets that one knocked down by Johnson. Johnson with the throw in time as Baker again.
Baker. Oh.
If we're going just based on the first three innings of this game, and we're going just based on defense, it's over as far as who the
Player of
player
the
of the
game?
game for Manitoba is.
Absolutely. That was an incredible play once again. And kudos to the second baseman who stayed with that, even though she
Yeah.
knocked it down.
Yeah, and again, you know, you put your body in front of the ball. You might not make a clean play to start with, but if you put your body in front of it, you'll at least give yourself a chance to make a play. And when you got a first base vacuum over there like Amber Baker, I think that's gonna. That will, at least for us, be her unofficial new nickname, Vacuum. Because if it gets even close to her, she'll suck that ball right into her glove. And it does bring up Julia Konigshofer. She's 0 for 1.
Bit high.
That one missing high. 2-0 now the count. And Macaulay did get over to third base on that ground out by Stymus. So 90 feet away from tying the game here in the bottom of inning number 3. There's the pitch. That'll miss just a little bit high as well. 3-0 now from Gorham on Konigshofer. Carly Snow, the very dangerous hitting third baseman in the on-deck circle. And, you know, Snow able to protect Konigshofer by being right behind her in the lineup. And that one will miss high, ball 4. So the walk puts the runners on the corners and brings up Carly Snow. She had that double to lead off the second inning. Ended up being stranded at third.
Red hot right now, red hot. Carly Snow has been swinging his bat with a lot of authority in the last 2 days.
And as we mentioned earlier, Snow, one of the PEI players
From Summerside.
for this team. And for those not familiar with Summerside, I'll throw a couple of reasons that Summerside is an important community in PEI. One, it is home of CFB Summerside, an important base as part of the Canadian Forces. And of course also, I got to throw in the hockey reference, home to the Maritime Hockey League Summerside Western Capitals. So one of the new divisional rivals for the Pictou County Weeks Crushers, as there was some realignment in the Maritime Hockey League through this offseason. The team from South Shore that had been playing out of Bridgewater moves to West Kent, New Brunswick, and so moves into the division that with the other New Brunswick teams, and Summerside moves to join the rest of the Pictou County teams. Meanwhile, we get a
Yep, Carly Snow once again.
Snow.
She's 16.
No.
She's 16 according to this.
Oh my goodness.
What a baseball player she's going to become.
And
Since
notice
she already is.
Oh yeah, going to become. That's wrong tense of the verb there.
Exactly, yeah.
As Macaulay comes in to score, Konigshofer gets over to second and safe at first base with an incredible effort there is Carly Snow. And unfortunately for the second baseman Johnson, that play is being scored as an error, and therefore it would have been the third out of the inning, so it's an unearned run. And here's Jackson, and
No pitch.
no pitch. What is a balk is called?
A balk.
So that puts
She didn't pause, I guess, in between, or didn't bring her gloves together with the ball.
Konigshofer at third and puts Snow up to second for Carly Jackson.
Yeah,
And so Jackson 0 for 1 with the strikeout back in the second, but a chance here to put Nova Scotia out in front for the first time tonight. Carly from Amherst, Nova Scotia, just the Nova Scotia side of the border.
that's almost New Brunswick.
Yeah. Well, if we're saying players from almost New Brunswick can be Nova Scotia, players from Amherst can be almost New Brunswick. Why not?
We love everybody in the Atlantic provinces.
I got to say, when I moved here, I mean, I already knew because we'd been out here a couple times to visit Karen's family, but the biggest difference between Western Canada and Eastern Canada really is the hospitality. I mean, Western Canada people are nice, not going to take anything away from them, but the hospitality of Eastern Canada
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We moved here from Quebec a couple of years ago, and you know, we are just, and especially we've had a lot of tragic events of late. But just to see how the community has come together, it's been so incredible.
It really is, and there's a strike taken, and the count goes to 2-1 on Jackson. And you talk about the type of commitment for Jackson as an athlete. Was living in Amherst, was driving to Pictou, or not to Pictou, but into New Glasgow a couple of times a week when she was playing with the Weeks Majors at the U18 level. That one from Jackson is going to get through. That'll score 1. They're going to hold Snow at third. And now Jackson gets a little ways away from first base, but will go back. And Carly Jackson with the RBI single drives in the go-ahead run. It's, whoops.
That balk comes in very important right now.
It does. And it puts runners at the corners with 2 away. I think Connick Schofer has enough speed. She might have been able to score on that single anyway.
Probably.
But what it also does is it makes that error now lead to 2 unearned runs, because it would have been the 3rd out of the inning. So both of these runs unearned, and it just shows, you know, one of the cardinal rules of baseball, you give a team extra outs.
Give them extra life, it's going to come back to bite you.
So, there we go.
Thank you for catching it.
So Nova Scotia ahead now 2-1, their first lead of the game. And Katie Hagen up to bat. She's 0 for 1, grounded out to third her first time up. Runners on the corners, still 2 away here as the 2-out rally continues. A walk, an error, and a hit since it became 2 outs. Jackson going, and they will throw down to second. And it would have been a close play at second if the catch had been made by Johnson, but the ball ends up squirting just underneath her glove.
Johnson's having a hard inning.
And, you know, that throw, if it's about a foot further before it goes to the ground, Johnson's able to make that catch much more easily, but that ball was right at the ground just as it got to her. And Hagen with the shot.
That's hit hard.
That will get over the head of Johnson, or excuse me, over the head of Neufeld.
Yep.
2 more runs come in to score, and Nova Scotia's on a roll. 4 runs in now in the bottom of the 3rd inning. All 4 runs unearned, but the 2 RBI double for Katie Hagen. And now we're going to see a meeting at the mound as Gorham is getting hit around on here in the 3rd inning. Brings up Leah Copeland. She was hit by a pitch back in her only previous plate appearance. And big inning here for Nova Scotia. And we talked about the standings and what they look like. If Nova Scotia can get this win here, and you know, they would go to 2-1. Manitoba would drop back to 2-1. Ontario is at 2-1, and with Nova Scotia playing Ontario tomorrow, they would be basically in a situation where it's win and you're in. They don't have to worry about any other
help from anybody
factors.
else. Yep.
And there's a throw down to second, and Hagen able to get back. If that throws a little bit lower, and then perhaps Hepner is able to make the tag. Hepner with a great effort to catch that ball and then get it down, but the fact that that throw was as high as it was helped Hagen to get back.
Absolutely.
Copeland takes the first pitch strike, and the count goes to 0-1. And you know, as we were just saying, the first thing that you want to be able to say is you're going into your last game of a round robin part of a tournament controlling your own destiny.
Absolutely.
And for Nova Scotia, if they can get the win tonight, that's the exact situation they'll be in. As Copeland swings through that one, the count now 0-2.
Yeah, I think Copeland decided a bit late to go on that one.
You know, one of the hardest things in sports is to have to make that, you know, not even split-second decision. There's a better throw, but Hagen, again, able to get back in under the tag.
Very aware. Good job, Katie.
Good move, too, by Gorham. And again, that shortstop for Manitoba, Hepner, able to get over to the bag. And there's a called third strike, and that will bring the inning to an end, but not before Nova Scotia puts up a 4-spot. They get 4 runs on 3 hits. There was 1 error and 1 runner left on base. We've played 3 complete, and Team Nova Scotia now playing with the lead. They are ahead 4-1. Due up in the top of the 4th, it's our favorite first baseman, Amber Baker, leading things off. Caitlin Hepner will bat second. Ella Holm coming up third in the top of the 4th inning. And you know, we say our favorite first baseman, but every first baseman, every player
all my children
in this tournament. You know, just watching what Amber Baker has done in this game, she sort of draws her to the forefront, at least for the moment.
And this morning, she was really solid as
She
well,
was
right?
indeed, yeah. You know, I mentioned earlier, you know, I've done, this is game number 1052 that I've called between my, the 3 different sports that I've worked in, that being rugby, hockey, and baseball. And the vast majority of them being hockey. And, you know, I consider myself so lucky. Out of those 1,000 games, I've probably seen at least 1,500 athletes when you put all those games together. I mean, a lot of games I'm doing the same teams over and over again, but I have yet to find an athlete that I go, why am I watching this person? You know, and at this tournament, it's so true, from player 1 through 15 in every lineup, or 1 through 16 for the case of Quebec 2, or in some of the smaller rosters, like 1 through 12. Mm-hmm. Every player on every one of these rosters has been so fun to watch, and I consider myself so blessed that I get to do this.
Well, this is game 8 for me, so only 1,044 to catch up to you. But no, this experience is just incredible, and you know, you're right. It gives you so much perspective, and you know, you're a little more objective up here, right? You can definitely you treat the teams with a little bit less passion than you do when you're on the field or behind the bench.
Exactly. And don't sell yourself short. This isn't just game 8, because you did a couple games on Facebook Live for your hockey team last year.
Okay, sure.
Oh! That one ends up drifting inside and catching Amber Baker right on the thigh. That's another one that's going to leave a mark. And that'll bring up Caitlin Hepner. Didn't even get a chance to say that Baker was 0 for 1. Now I do say it. Caitlin Hepner is 1 for 1, as she doubled and came around to score back in the 2nd inning, the only run for Manitoba so far. That one right down Main Street for strike 1. My very first broadcast that I was ever involved in, it was at the Junior B Provincial Championships in Alberta back in 1999.
Check swing.
Jackson able to pick the ball up and get over to the bag herself for out number 1. Baker makes her way down to second base on the play. And that was not an easy play for Carly Jackson. She made it look relatively routine, but that ball was kind of spinning on her a little weird.
Absolutely, it was.
And that brings up Ella Holm. Holm 0 for 1, a grounder to short her first time up. And, a runner in scoring position here right now at second base. That one misses high, 1-0 on the first delivery from McCauley. And good to see McCauley back out there on the mound after she took that ball to the kidney during the bottom of the 3rd inning when she was a base runner. And I think the length of that inning actually helped Macaulay a bit.
Yeah.
There's a grounder down to third. Good strong throw across from Snow. The one hopper, and now a throw back to third. And Baker's showing a little bit of speed there, getting from second base to third on that throw across by Snow.
Well, we saw it this morning. She's not afraid to run. Unfortunately, she got tagged out at third on a heads-up play, but she's aggressive base runner. Good for her.
One of those players, maybe not the fastest on the team, but she gives you that 100% every
Absolutely.
time. Brings up Darby Poole. Poole reached on an error her first time up. The only error committed by Team Nova Scotia so far. Manitoba 1 run so far on 2 hits. They've committed 1 error. Nova Scotia 4 runs on 4 hits. They also have committed just the 1 error to this point. So a cleanly played ball game as well.
Absolutely.
Swing and a miss there by Poole.
It was late on that.
Yeah. Like we were talking about just a moment ago, the average pitch to get from the mound to the plate is, 1.2 seconds, something like that?
Yeah, you've got to make that decision quick.
Yeah. Not only do you have to decide to swing, you have to then actually execute a swing in that 1.2 seconds. That one fouled back, and the ball ends up bouncing off of a rock and in towards the extra parking lot here at Mainland Commons Field. So the count now 1-2. Poole, I think one of the younger players for Team Manitoba, if
I'm looking at it right now.
That one just misses outside. You can see that Macaulay wanted that pitch, but doesn't get it. The count now 2-2.
Pool 19 from Macaulay, Manitoba. There's a couple of 17-year-olds and one 16-year-old on the team. Ali Neufeld, there's a 16-year-old playing with them.
So still in the younger half of the Manitoba team.
Absolutely.
And of course, like I mentioned earlier, all these players here look young to me. So even the ones in their 30s look young to me.
I think there's only a couple in their 30s I've seen so far today. BC had a couple.
I think,
of players.
BC and maybe one for the Ontario team.
Maybe one of the Ontario teams. Yeah, right.
But and it's funny, being at the hotel, staying at the same hotel as the vast majority of these teams. That one fouls back, and the count remains full, 3-2. And you walk by them in the hallway, and you feel like, I am a grandfather, but they really make you feel like a grandfather. Again, you see them in the hallway, and they're all very friendly, and
absolutely.
You chat with them and say, nice play in that game earlier today, and they always so appreciative.
That's
that
a dangerous spot.
Into left field, and it will land just fair. That will allow Baker to trot in from third base, a stand-up double for Darby Poole. And it's now 4-2 for Nova Scotia. And we called this Manitoba team the comeback kids. They trailed by 9 against Ontario, came back and won. They trailed by 4 against Quebec, came back and won. Trail by 3 now against Nova Scotia. We made the joke that the thing that Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan would want to do is not take a lead until very, very late in the game. But Manitoba, they're showing they're going to battle you right down to the last out every single time. That pitch misses inside to Ali Neufeld. Neufeld 0 for 1 so far on the day. She struck out her first time up. As the 1-0 pitch from Macaulay. That one misses outside, and again Copeland, another good block there.
Yep. She must also have some goaltending.
Well, we've seen so many of these athletes are two or more sport athletes, and that's you see in hockey a little bit too much that players play hockey all winter and then they go to hockey camps all summer and they never really they never get a break from that sport. It's just as effective to be if you're a hockey player through the winter, it's just as effective training through the summer to be playing soccer or to be playing baseball or, you know, getting involved in another sport. And you see a lot of the old school hockey players talk about the fact that, you know, they would want to see their players, if they're coaching, be 2-sport or 3-sport or 4-sport athletes. And that one,
Oh, good play.
beautiful catch on the line drive by the first base coach for Manitoba. Fortunately for Manitoba, that doesn't count as an out against them.
I think that's Bissonnette who made that catch.
I think you're right, yeah. Yeah.
Et j'en profite pour dire bonjour à tous nos auditeurs francophones du Manitoba.
Quite a francophone community in Manitoba, and of course a lot of that, the connection with the Métis population.
Yes, that's right.
Of the province, and a strikeout there by Ellie McCauley ends the rally for Manitoba, but not before Manitoba does get one run on the one hit. There were no errors and one runner left on base. But the score at the end of 3.5, we reach the midway point of the game, and the host team and the home team in this game, Nova Scotia, with the 4-2 lead. And Nova Scotia, it is 8-9-1 due up in the bottom of the fourth.
And we've got Tessa Hood, who will be leading us off in this period. Period. There you go. I've got like multi-sport in the brain.
Yeah.
This inning. Jenna Jackson and Ellie McCauley that will also round us up. And if we're lucky, we'll see Ali Steinmetz as well, who will be the fourth hitter.
As we head to the bottom of inning number 4, and I don't know about you, but with this being game number 8, I'm at the point where I'm starting to want to take maybe a little bit of a break during the half-inning breaks as well, and I need to get another drink of water as well, so just bear with me for a moment.
For Manitoba in the top of the fourth inning, they scored 1 run on 1 hit. There were no errors. 1 runner left on base.
Same lineup I see for the Manitoba team. No changes there.
That's the one difference at this level as opposed to some of the youth baseball, is sometimes even if they're not making a pitching change, you got to go through and go, okay, who's playing where this half inning, because and that's the hardest part about doing play-by-play at this level, is you end up calling the name of the wrong center fielder because they changed the center fielder and you didn't catch it.
Maybe even twin, yeah. But,
yeah.
Well, as a coach who's done a lot of the minor baseball, you want to get these kids in.
I don't begrudge them all of that. It just makes it sometimes challenging for the play-by-play guy.
Absolutely. Even you're bringing kids all the way to Moncton sometimes for a tournament, and you're like, oh, you didn't get to play. That's not great.
No. And, you want, as the play-by-play guy, you want to give the credit to the right kid, too, right? So that's why it sort of becomes a little bit of a challenge to make sure that you're trying to look and go, okay, were there any changes as Hood chases after one that maybe in hindsight she might not have wanted to there.
Want that back for sure.
One of the hardest things about play-by-play in hockey is sometimes if the jersey doesn't have enough contrast on it for the number, you can't tell who's who. Sometimes in baseball, if a player change is made and it's not, you're not able to catch it, you don't know who's who. There's a strike right at the top of the zone, and that will be a strikeout of Tessa Hood, excuse me, and that's the 3rd strikeout of the game for Mercedes Gorham on the mound. That brings up Jenna Jackson. She's 0 for 1, grounded out to second her first time up. Jackson steps in and takes the first pitch for a strike right down at the knees. 0-1 the count. You mentioned Jackson from the Kentville area, the Annapolis Valley, a beautiful part of this province.
So gorgeous.
And Kentville also, of course, just down the road from Wolfville, the home of the beautiful Acadia University.
Great grounds, beautiful,
yes. Yeah. Of course, the university I went to, University of Alberta, 30,000 students, so quite more expansive of a campus than Acadia has.
Concordia University for me in Montreal.
Home of the Stingers.
There you go.
Yeah.
We've always been so bad, we call them the Stinkers.
I would never do that.
You can't. Yeah, you could if you're, you know, an alumni.
Yeah. No, for me, it's the Golden Bears and the Pandas.
There you go.
Yeah. And I was quite lucky while I was going to school at U of A. That was during the height of the U of A hockey Bears dynasty, and our Golden Bears basketball program always has been so good as well. And I still follow, you know, the Golden Bears and the Pandas in their various sports every year to see how my old school's doing. You know, just like alumni everywhere, you always want to check in on your old school.
I haven't been keeping up, I'll be honest.
I will say Concordia's soccer teams over the last couple of years have gotten better. Yeah, they're still not at the point where, you know, they'd be challenging for nationals or anything, but they've improved. My kids, my oldest, the elementary school that she went to, her team name was the Stingers. So you know, as that one comes through into the right side of through the right side of the infield for Jackson to get her single, and that will mean it is 1 on and 1 out for Ellie McCauley back up at the plate. McCauley 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored. And McCauley with a chance to continue to help out her own cause here.
It's a dome, right? When you're in the shower.
1 on, 1 out. Bottom of the 4th inning, and there we go now.
Hey.
It's getting dark enough. It's time to turn on my little desk lamp here to see my playbook. Gorham with the pitch, swung on and missed by McCauley.
Great swing.
Allows Gorham to again get ahead in the count, as she's done on so many of the Nova Scotia batters so far here this evening.
Oh yeah.
Here comes the 0-1 pitch. McCauley thought about it. They appeal, and no, she did not, says our first base umpire. And again, umping at first base, it is Katrina Codette of Ontario.
I think she held that one. I think she was able to hold that one.
It's now a 1-1 count, as McCauley was able to hold off. At least so says Cadet. Gorham gets set and delivers. That pitch misses outside. 2-1 now the count on Ellie McCauley. Oh, there we go. And we've also got 1 out.
Yeah.
There we go. Like I said,
8th game, right?
you know, if what you see on your scoreboard doesn't match what you know to be true, we'll get there.
Give us a chance. Give us a chance.
Throw over to first, and Jackson able to get back in.
Absolutely. Two and 1 the count here on McCauley. Bottom of inning number 4. Nova Scotia leading at 4-2, trying to add some cushion to that lead. That one, a soft liner just over the head of Baker. They might get a forced play at second. They will, as Baker not able to, as good of an athlete as she is. Just out of her reach.
Yeah, just a little bit over her head, but it does end up being a fielder's choice 4-6 on the putout.
Jackson dove back to first, which I don't know if that was...
I think she couldn't tell for sure whether Baker was going to get up and make that catch or not. I think she had to make that dive back just in case to avoid the double play. And you know, I'm not going to begrudge Jackson that decision in the slightest. You know,
Yes, I mean, the dive was probably hard for her to get back up and then make it to second.
exactly, yeah. So it leads to the easy force out at second base and brings up Ali Stymist, who's 0 for 2 so far on the afternoon. A ground out to short and a ground out to second, her first 2 times up, with 1 on and now 2 away here in the fourth. 1-0 the count on Stymist as the first pitch misses the zone.
Good swing.
Stymist fouls that one back as she's just a hair underneath it. The old saying rings true. You got a round bat and a round ball, and you got to try and hit it square. And the difference sometimes between a square shot out to the outfield and a foul back like that is fractions of inches.
Absolutely.
I can talk a good game, just can't play one. Throw over to first, and this time it's McCauley who has to get back. And McCauley earlier in the game on a similar pickoff attempt ended up taking the ball in the rib or the kidney there. Gorham gets ready for the 1-1. A look over at first. Runner going. The hit and run on, but a grounder right at the second baseman and a relatively easy play for Jamie Johnson, and that'll be the 3rd out of the inning. So no runs on the 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. We've played 4 complete here at Mainland Commons, and it is the host team and the home team, Nova Scotia, with the 4-2 lead on Team Manitoba. For Manitoba in the top of the 5th, we're back at the top of the order again. It is Caitlin Culleton, Jamie Johnson, and Zoe Hicks due up for Manitoba.
For Nova Scotia, in the bottom of the 4th, there were no runs and 1 hit and no errors and 1 runner left on base. The score after 4 complete innings of play: Nova Scotia 4, Manitoba 2. The Manitoba pitch count was 17 for a total of 69. Just as a reminder, the beer tent is still open at the end of the 3rd baseline. Some delicious craft beer brewed right here in Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia. Go over and try one.
As we get ready for the top of inning number 5, Nova Scotia leading it 4-2, and the pitch count for Manitoba there was announced as 69 through 4 innings, so that works out to an average of just over 17 pitches an inning, which, you know, at any level, if you're able to get out of an inning with less than 20 pitches on average, you're doing well.
Yep. I think Nova Scotia's also had about 60.
It's in the 60s for sure. So somewhere within that same amount. Both of these pitchers, you know, we talk about the importance of pitch count efficiency, and both of these pitchers are showing it again here tonight. That one's going to miss down in the dirt as the first pitch to Caitlin Culleton. Culleton 1 for 2. She singled to lead off the game and flew out to center back in the 3rd. Hard hit fly ball to center in the 3rd as well. McCauley delivers.
Feels like she's often an unsung hero with the amount of catching that she does as well.
Yes. A nice curveball there from Culleton, or from McCauley rather, to Culleton. Breaking pitch in for a strike, and the count now 1-1. Grounder to short, gathered in by Konigshofer. Across the diamond to Carly Jackson for the first out of the inning. And that will bring up Jamie Johnson.
Made it look easy.
Johnson 0 for 2 tonight. She has struck out both of her previous plate appearances.
Jamie Johnson.
Koningshow for a good, strong throw across the diamond there. And confidently picked up that ball on a nice, was able to get it on a nice middle of the hop too.
Yep.
Wasn't
Yeah, played that well.
backed up a step or two to get it where she wanted it within that hop. Hard hit, but right through Carly Snow. And that one, I know Snow is only quite a young ball player, but that's one that she's definitely going to want back.
Oh, yeah.
So Johnson, and just going to look real quick here just to make sure. That does bring up Zoe Hicks. Just waiting, and that is, they're calling that an error on Snow.
Deservedly, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one that she probably
Goes through the wickets when you're
could have had,
planted.
yeah. So Johnson reaches on the error. That puts one on with one out for Zoe Hicks. Hicks ahead in the count here, 1-0.
25-year-old Zoe.
And the 25-year-old takes one inside. 2-0 now the count.
From West Vain, Manitoba.
Part of the French population, part of the community of the province.
I'm not sure if they say West Vain or West Vain. But I'm making it French.
Yeah. Alberta not really known for it, but it does have quite a French community up in the northern part of the province.
Peace River?
Yeah, just south of Peace River, the communities of Falher and Girouville. Just 10 kilometers apart are Falher and Girouville. My parents lived in Girouville for a brief amount of time while I was
so well with all this.
yeah. And I do have some French-Canadian ancestry in my background, but as the walk for Hicks brings her to first and moves Johnson over to second, that'll bring up Mercedes Gorham.
Mercedes Gorham.
Gorham 0 for 2 on the game. And we're going to get a meeting at the mound here. And with the pitch count still in the 60s, so it must have been the low 60s to start the inning. And so she still does have a few pitches to work with to be available on Sunday. As they talk it over. And now we're the home plate umpire getting to the mound, wanting to get things moved along here. Now that will break up the meeting. So here's Mercedes Gorham. We mentioned 0 for 2, flew out in the first and struck out in the third. One of 5 strikeouts delivered by McCauley to this point in the game through 4 1/3 innings of pitching. That breaking ball catches the bottom of the zone. 1-1 now the count.
Right through the zone. That was a beautiful pitch.
Gorham really didn't have much of a chance, or it should be 0-1, not 1-1, excuse me. Gorham really didn't have a chance on that one with that break. Falling off the table, the old expression. And comes back with a fastball that just misses high, and 1-1 now.
Well framed by Copeland.
Yes. Here we go, 1-1 now the count.
Scoreboard caught up. Nova Scotia needs a double play here.
They do, one away. Another breaking pitch, but this one just misses.
McCauley doesn't seem to agree.
No. That one perhaps just a hair outside. It was hard to tell. It looked like it crossed the plate at an okay level up and down, but maybe just a bit outside. So the count now 2-1.
From our vantage point, it's hard.
Here comes the 2-1. That'll miss inside. 3-1 now.
She seems to be.
The first pitch of the at-bat was a strike. As Eastlink over there were
debating which pitch.
well, part of it was because the scoreboard showed the first pitch as a ball. So when they looked at that, that got them thrown off a little bit.
I'm sure.
So it's now a full count, 3-2.
Great battle.
Only one away. You got runners on first and second. You got a full count, but there's only one away, and you're down by 2.
Yeah.
Do you send these runners?
I do. But I think you've known by now I'm a bit of an aggressive coach.
Yeah. And the runners weren't going.
No, they weren't.
And Gorham does get a piece of that ball and fouls it back into the netting. So we're going to see it all over again. And we'll see if Manitoba holds pat with their decision not to send the runners at 3-2 with 1 out. Here comes the second payoff pitch of the at-bat. That one will miss outside, and that will load up the bases for Amber Baker. Baker grounded out in the second, was hit by a pitch in the fourth, and now comes up here with the bases loaded and 1 away. And if Baker's able to get into one here, we're looking at a tie ball game, or possibly a lead for Manitoba, as our scoreboard seems to be running a little bit behind. We do have it showing as 4-2 on what we're trying to input, but it's not showing up on your screen yet as 4-2.
Yeah, we have
So
it listed as 4-2, but
we did hit the buttons this time. It's just the computer itself is being a little bit slow. Or I should say Eric hit the buttons, and the computer itself is being a little bit slow.
it's been there for a couple of innings. I don't know.
Well, you know, the joys of modern technology. When it works, it's great, but again, we've got to give Dixon Cho, our technical guru, a lot of credit. He's done a great job on keeping things working for
Looking out
us.
for us all day long, getting us extra tarps for wind and everything. Dixon has been real stand-up.
So 2-0 now the count on Amber Baker, as she's up here. This is a major key point in this game. Baker up with the bases loaded, and
That's
takes one right down at the bottom of the zone. 2-1 now. Great pitch there by McCauley, throwing the breaking ball to Baker and getting it into the zone. The count, and gets Baker to chase one, and the count now 2-2. That curveball for McCauley is working.
Yeah, that was a great pitch.
The one thing I've always had trouble with as when I'm watching a game live in person, being able to tell the difference between a curveball and a slider, and the different kinds of breaking pitches.
It's all about the rotation, but how do you see it, you know, when you don't have the help of technical vision, right? So it's really hard to tell from our distances, at least, to see, you know, which way the laces are going. But yeah, it is.
And now the count 3-3 3-1 is what it's showing on the board, but I think it's 3-2 is the actual count.
Correct.
Yeah, so a full count, bases loaded, 1 away. Here comes a key pitch in this game. What is Macaulay going to deliver? It's a fastball, swing and a miss, strike 3.
That was a big out.
Ellie Macaulay says, here's my fastball, you try and hit it, and gets Baker to swing and miss. And that is
swinging though. She meant to be up there.
And that'll bring up Caitlin Hepner. Hepner 1 for 2 with a double and a run scored. She's also grounded out.
She hit with a ton of them.
Yeah. So now bases loaded, but 2 away. And Macaulay looking to work herself out of this jam and gets Hepner to chase a good pitch. As some Nova Scotia players just coming back from the bullpen. I didn't see which players it was, but there is somebody who's gone and warmed up and is ready to go. So if Macaulay runs into more trouble, or into trouble, I mean more trouble because it is bases loaded.
They've got options.
That one fouled off towards the Manitoba dugout, and the count now 0-2. From a momentum standpoint, if nothing else, this would be a huge half inning to get out of without giving up any runs.
This is, very perilous.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Way to respond from Macaulay on that one.
Bases loaded, 1 out, and all Macaulay does is get back-to-back Ks to get out of the inning. Those are her 6th and 7th strikeouts of the game. And so no runs on no hits. The 3 players who reached base, 1 was by an error and 2 were by walks. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and 3 runners left on base.
Pitched herself out of trouble.
And
she put herself into the first place, so yeah.
That is a big key moment in this game. Manitoba still trails 4-2 going into the bottom of the 4th and going into the heart of the order for Nova Scotia as well. It's batters 3, 4, and 5.
Julia Koningshofer. We've got Carly. It's getting dark. I'm going to get my glasses back on. And Julia Koningshofer, Carly Snow, Carly Jackson, and Katie Hagan if we get that far.
So they're maybe instead of handing the game sheet all the way over to you, I'll leave it here in the light, let you lean over towards it.
That's fine. I just got to make sure I got my glasses on. We're taking a break from them. They've been on all day.
It is a long day of baseball, but when the baseball's this good, it's okay to have a long day.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right, yeah.
And we will be back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. First pitch for the first game scheduled for 9 o'clock.
Yep.
And I haven't looked at the weather app recently. I know earlier this weekend it was calling for possible scattered thunder showers tomorrow. It looks
like it will be into the evening tomorrow.
So hopefully we'll get through at least the majority of the play before the weather becomes an issue.
Another hot day though in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Looking like another, feels like 36 degrees. So there's a risk of rain, but it seems to be in the evening tomorrow. So hopefully, like last night, it happens overnight.
As that one pulled foul by Julia Koningshofer. She's 0 for 1, grounded out to third, and walked and came around to score one of the runs in that big 4-run third inning. All 4 runs for Nova Scotia coming in that third inning. For Manitoba, they had 1 in the second, 1 in the 4th, which is how we are at this 4-2 scoreline here in the bottom of inning number 5. And not sure what the delay is here.
There seems to be maybe some equipment or some baseballs or...
Okay, yeah, just looking to get some extra balls brought back over to the umpire.
I hadn't realized it, but Koningshofer is a purist. No batting gloves.
Ah, one of the few that we we see in this tournament. Yeah. Swing and a miss there. And 0-2 now the count on the old school ball player.
I think she has a sliding mitt though, so
yes,
that negates it.
Yeah. at least partially old school ball player. There you go. When I played hockey, one of my favorite pairs of gloves that I used, the palms of the gloves were worn right out, and I did not replace them because I loved having that feel of the stick right on my hands. And my parents, you know, time and time again said to me, Mike, you need to get new gloves. You need to get new gloves. I'm like, no, you cannot take these gloves away from me. And yeah, that feel of the stick right on the hand, it just makes you feel like you're more in it.
I presume they were wooden sticks, right?
Oh yeah, that's going back several years.
Ooh,
high into
nice
the
drive.
night sky, and getting underneath it and making the catch is Ella Holm for the first out of the inning.
Seemed to be drifting away from her at the end of that.
Yeah, Holm had to keep moving, and it looked like, you know, she thought she had it, but had to keep going, and stayed with that ball all the way. A long, loud out for out number one. Brings up Carly Snow. Snow is 1 for 2. She doubled in the second, reached on an error, and came around to score in that 4-run third. And Snow with the one batting glove. The left hand stays bare, but the right hand in the glove. Here comes the 0-1 pitch. And that one, another high into the sky. It's in foul territory. It'll end up going out into the stands, where we've got a number of people out here watching. You were talking about it earlier. Great crowd here tonight.
Absolutely.
And not only are there a lot of people, but they are all well engaged in this game. Everybody's having fun, bringing lots of energy, and we're seeing it transfer to the game on the field as well.
Pumping up the Nova Scotia players, that's for sure.
The 0-2 pitch, wasted outside, 1-2. Here comes the 1-2. Oh, no, we're going to get time called as Gorham was starting her delivery, but time was allowed late in that sequence. Here comes the 1-2 now. We're ready to go. And that one launched into left center. It will drop just wide of the center fielder. Here's Snow. She'll get into second base standing up, and her second double of the game.
Incredible weekend she's been having so far. The Snow's just been on fire.
You know, you hear the phrase, the baseball looks like a beach ball coming in for Snow. That's what it has been this week.
She's been hitting, softball-sized baseballs for sure.
It certainly doesn't fly like a beach ball, because it flies a lot further than a beach ball would, but she's seeing it huge. One away, Carly Snow in scoring position for Carly Jackson.
Jeez, the scouts are watching some amazing stuff from Carly Snow this weekend, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to make a decision on which players to take out of this tournament to put together a team for Baseball Canada, you know, I do not envy them. As Jackson with a comebacker, and that one may have gone off of Gorham. And then it's thrown away. That'll allow Snow to come in to score. Jackson will get to second base.
A rare error from Baker. I don't know if that is going to be the Baker or the throw is low. But
I think it might be a throwing error. It's hard to tell for sure. We'll look back at the replay on the Eastland monitor here. Hepner gets the throw, and yeah, I think it has to be a throwing error on Hepner there. Either way, it is an error, and this is not a regular mound visit. This is a medical mound visit, as that ball went careening off of the shin of of the pitcher, Mercedes Gorham. And, you know, the coach doesn't even go all the way to the mound himself. He let the umpire go and check on Gorham.
Gorham will kind of wave back to coach.
Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. Another one of those ball players who, you're not taking me out on account of that. No way, no how.
Katie Hagen's up.
And that brings up Katie Hagen, who is 1 for 2.
With a big double once again as well. She hit a ton over the center fielder.
And not only did she hit that one a ton, but she also drove in 2 big runs for Nova Scotia in this game and was looking to repeat that success, but just missed. And 0-1 the count now on Hagen. So Carly Snow did come in to score. The score is now 5-2 for Nova Scotia as they continue to threaten here with a runner at second and just 1 out. And that pitch misses down and away. 1-1 now the count on Hagen. Five, 5-2, bottom of the 5th inning. Nova Scotia looking to try and get to 2-1, move into a 3-way tie for first, as they would pull Manitoba back to 2-1 if this result were to hold.
We've called the Manitoba the cutback kids, though. You've got to be careful.
Yeah. They, you know, this game is far from over, but if Nova Scotia can add a little bit of extra insurance here, they've already got 1 in and they have a runner in scoring position. If they can add a little bit more, get
insurance, yeah.
You know, to ask Ontario how much insurance you need when you're playing against Manitoba, though, it was a 9-run margin, or sorry, a 6-run margin. It was 9-3, and Manitoba with 13 consecutive runs after the score was 9-3 to win that game 16-9. And if a 6-run lead against a team isn't safe, a 3-run lead against a team certainly not one that you would want to rest your laurels on at this point.
Absolutely, I think you're completely right there.
And Cecil, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
I'm loving this game too. This is some fantastic ball we're getting to watch here tonight. Full count here on Hagen, 1 away. Jackson still at second base after reaching on that throwing error from Hepner. And the amount of the amount of errors that have been committed by Hepner, you could count on one hand all week. The amount of errors by Manitoba tonight, you can count on 2 fingers. And there's a walk. So that puts runners at first and second now, bringing up Leah Copeland.
It was a smart move to take as many pitches as you could after the pitcher had taken one to the shin. Right?
Yes.
You want to keep her working, and if she's in any discomfort, take advantage of that for sure.
Because that comebacker off the shin, that was a hard hit ball by Jackson. And although, watching, I've watched carefully Gorham's delivery over this last at-bat. It hasn't changed at all. She doesn't look like she's struggling with, and because it is her push-off foot as well, that's the leg that got hit. And that one right there shows she hasn't lost any velocity either as a result of that push-off leg getting the ball. So she's doing quite all right. Thank you very much. 0-1 the count here on Copeland. Copeland 0 for 1. She was hit by a pitch in the second, struck out in the third. That one
showed a bit of bunt
in the zone, and now the count 0-2. So we've seen pitchers get into jams and get themselves out of them. Another one here for Gorham to try and work her way out of. Of course, part of it was the result of a throwing error. But a double, an error, and a walk led to where we are now, and that pitch misses high, and it's now 1-2. You don't mind missing out of the zone high on an 0-2 pitch, but I don't think she wanted to miss quite that far out of the zone. You want to at least make
Give
it
them,
one that
challenging. Yeah, tempting is the word
Yeah.
I think I'm looking for.
Yeah. Here comes the 1-2.
Outside.
Just outside. 2-2 now the count. As Thompson, or Culleton, excuse me, Thompson's the catcher for Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Culleton framing that pitch really well and held it there, giving a nice long look at it, but
Trying to convince.
not quite enough of a salesperson on that one, I'm afraid. Ooh! And that's the second time that Copeland's been hit in this game. The first one in the thigh, that one in the shoulder.
Loads the bases.
And Leah Copeland's family about to buy stock in ice making companies.
Deep cold.
Yeah. That brings up Tessa Hood. She's 0 for 2 so far tonight. Hood flew out to right field in the second, struck out in the fourth. One of 3 strikeout victims of the starting pitcher Mercedes Gorham for Manitoba. And the bases are now loaded with just 1 out, and the entire infield in on the grass. So sometimes you see the middle infielders go to double play depth, but everybody's in here. That one high in the sky, infield fly in effect, and the catch made there by the third baseman Zoe Hicks for the second out. And that a big one there, so the bases will remain loaded with now 2 away. So now the infield can go back and play at regular depth, and they get a force out at any base. Hood made good contact, but just a little bit too far underneath that ball, skying it into high into the sky here at Mainland Commons. And Jenna Jackson now coming up. She's 1 for 2. Grounded out in the third, singled in the fourth. That one will miss outside. 1-0 the count.
Yep.
Nova Scotia leading it by 3. Chance to extend this lead even further if they can keep this 5th inning going. But it's up to Jenna Jackson. Jackson takes another one. That one misses inside, and the count now 2-0. 5-2 the score. 4 runs in the third, 1 more here in the 5th for Nova Scotia. That one pulled foul, and Mike Konigshofer, we'll give him the E on that one.
Give him the E on that one. Yeah. His daughter's gonna give him a pointer or 2 after that.
Right through the wickets.
No glove.
No. So we'll give him half an error. Here comes the 2-1 delivery. Fouled back, and it's 2-2.
Nice.
Great cut there by Jackson, yeah.
Looking as a good pitch. Just got a little bit underneath.
So now 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 3 on base though. Mercedes Gorham gets herself set. Here comes the 2-2. That'll miss high and go all the way to the backstop. That'll bring Carly Jackson in to score.
And move up the runners.
And that makes it now 6-2 for Nova Scotia. And it also moves Hagen up to second base. It moves Copeland to second, Hagen to third, and more importantly, it takes away the force play at any bag.
Correct.
So now
first.
That one, that becomes a big play for a number of reasons there. It gives the run, it takes away the force play at different bases, and now a slow roller by Jackson.
This is gonna be
tough
challenging.
play, and Baker with another beautiful play at first base.
Yep. Baker, she's been very solid. They had to rush that play. There was no velocity on the ball.
Yeah, the slow roller. Hicks, give her credit as well. She came in and got that ball and got it away quickly. Baker had to stretch for it, and I'm, again, you know, if we're, I mean, Baker's been okay at the plate. I mean, she's 0 for 2, was hit by a pitch and came around to score a run. But if I'm looking just at the defensive side of the game, Baker.
She's been, yeah, well, we saw it in the earlier game today, right? Not afraid to stretch out and go get that play. Made the difference a couple of times, I'm certain.
So it ends up being 1 or 2 runs on just the 1 hit. There was 1 error and the 2 runners left on base. We've played 5 complete. We'll go to the top of the 6th with Nova Scotia leading it 6-2. Due up for Manitoba in the top of inning number 6. It's the bottom of the order. The 3 outfielders, right fielder Ella Holm, left fielder Darby Poole, and center fielder Ali Neufeld. And if anybody gets on, then we're back around to the top of the order for Caitlin Culleton. And still out there continuing to work is Ellie McCauley. And McCauley up beyond 90, or up at 97, I think that is, pitches now. So this definitely is her only pitching appearance this weekend, which means she gets, I think it's 125 is the maximum.
I believe so.
It's either 125 or 115.
Let's see if we can.
And for Manitoba, number 22, Ella Holm.
But, oh, it depends on the age of the pitcher themselves. Okay. Unlimited. Okay. Oh, okay. So we just got confirmation on how the pitch counts actually work. It doesn't depend on the age of the tournament, because this is a senior level tournament. It depends on the age of the pitcher herself. So because McCauley is 24, she does not have, I mean, they are tracking her pitch count, but she does not have a limit on the number of pitches she's allowed to throw. So she can throw a complete game as long as her arm still feels good.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the scoreboard's having an issue because it's 9 balls and 1 strike right now.
That's not a count that you're used to
No,
seeing,
you
but
really see the 9-ball count.
the way I pitch,
The Savannah Bananas might have something like that.
Yeah, perhaps. Which player was it we were looking at earlier today that listed the Bananas as their favorite team?
I don't remember. We've just seen so many players today.
But and I mean, you know, again, that just shows how much fun all of these players have. If the Bananas are your favorite team, you know that you're a player who likes to have fun at the ballpark. This is Ella Holm up to bat. She's 0 for 2 so far.
Oh.
So a grounder, and what a play by McCauley to get to it. She'll get the throw over to Jackson, but Jackson can't make the catch. And so
That's got to be on Jackson. McCauley made a great play. But that ball had no velocity. I think she was the only one who had a chance to making a play.
yeah, McCauley able to get off the mound, get to the ball. I mean, Jackson did have to stretch for it, but that ball did
it goes off your glove.
get a
It's gotta
piece of
be
the
in,
glove.
right?
Yeah. So that definitely is an error, and I'm pretty sure, like you say, that's going to be an E3, not an E1. That'll bring up Darby Poole. Poole 1 for 2, reached on an error and an RBI double, and that is the 3rd error committed by Nova Scotia, the one charged to Jackson here to lead off the 6th. First pitch to Poole, misses low, ball 1. And that RBI double by Poole back in the 4th, a well-hit ball out to center field, just a little bit to left center. Swing and a miss there, and the count now 1-1. McCauley gets herself set, 1-1 the count. That one misses inside, 2-1 now. On the left fielder for Team Manitoba, Darby Poole. Didn't catch what the reference was to make a comparison to Dwayne Ward, but did hear that they're calling up the old Toronto Blue Jay pitcher. That one misses low, and it's now 3-1.
Or you think buddies are having a great time this evening?
It's not often that you end up doing play-by-play right next to another group also doing play-by-play of the same game, and sometimes it's fun to stop doing your own and listen to the broadcast going on next door to you. And
well, they're an animated group, so...
That one just misses as well, and so that's going to be a walk to Poole. So an error and a walk means 2 on, nobody out to start this 6th inning, and Manitoba, their specialty is the comeback, and they're going to need it here as they're in the 6 outs left to work with.
They're the twilight of this game.
Brings up Ali Neufeld. She's 0 for 2. 2 of the 7 strikeouts by Macaulay have been on Ali Neufeld here tonight. And Neufeld with a swing and a miss there, the count 0-1. And this another key at bat in this game. Try and get the first out of this inning without allowing the base runners to advance. Neufeld shows bunt, and a high fastball. Asked to try and put a bunt down on a high fastball, one of the toughest things to do, and Neufeld did a good job to get the bat on it, but the bat was just a little bit too far underneath it. But when your coach shows you the bunt sign, you got to give the coach what he asked for.
If you want to stay in the lineup.
Yeah, he doesn't know that it's going to be high heat coming in. You got to deal with whatever comes at you. Not on an 0-2 pitch, not when you're trailing by 4. You can't.
You have to save these outs.
Yeah. You've only got 6 outs left to work with, and you're trailing by 4 runs. You got to be judicious. And the 0-2 pitch misses low. It's now 1-2. Macaulay with 3 looks back at second base. There's a swing and a miss. And a 3rd strikeout of Ali Neufeld. 8 strikeouts.
I believe that was Horizon Senf who was at
It
that.
was, you're right. Yes, Senf. So it was a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
Didn't hear the announcement of the pinch hitter. That's on me. So Horizon Senf hit pinch hitting, and she strikes out. So that's the 3rd K out of the 9 spot in the order. Brings up Caitlin Culleton. She's 1 for 3.
Once again, an infield fly situation.
Runners at first and second, just 1 out. First pitch misses low, 1-0 on Culleton, who, as I mentioned, 1 for 3. A single, a fly out, and a ground out. We're going to see another visit from the Nova Scotia coach out to talk to his pitcher, Ellie Macaulay. I don't.
Had some action earlier in the bullpen, but that was a while.
And I don't see you making a pitching change mid-batter here at this point in this game. As the meeting at the mound comes to an end, and so Macaulay, as we expected, still out there. And after we got the word from Holly that there is no pitch count limit for Macaulay because she is an adult, a senior ball player. there are still pitch count limits up to 21U or 22U. I can't remember which it is, but because she's 24, her arm will go as long as she feels up to going. And as the old expression goes, I don't think you'll get her off that mound with a stick of dynamite. Throw back to second, and home able to get back in underneath. Caitlin Culleton at the plate, 1-0 the count. And
Bit high.
that one misses a little bit high, 2-0.
I want to hear one more word. Arguing balls and strength, okay? Or I'm going to talk to you. One more.
As our home plate umpire gives a warning to the Nova Scotia bench that he doesn't want to hear any more arguments about balls and strikes. And again, that's Martin Stubbs of Alberta who's calling the balls and strikes in this game.
Really, he's been quite consistent. I don't think he's been doing a poor job at all.
That one misses outside, in the count now 3-0. And you know, we come back to the fact that we've only had one person tossed out of a game in this whole tournament, and that was in that Quebec game earlier today. As there's
she got
ball
tossed
four.
up at the bottom of the 7th as the last out, so she didn't miss very much.
The second to last out there.
Yeah, second to last out, so yeah.
And I was talking to somebody afterwards. It was because she brought her elbow up as she was coming into home plate, so initiating a little bit of extra contact was the reason for the ejection there.
Yeah, it was one of those plays where the only option she had was to try to get the ball loose from the catcher.
Yeah.
Bases loaded.
Bases loaded, one away. Jamie Johnson at the plate. She's 1 for 3. She struck out twice and also singled and then advanced on an error.
Oh, there's that curve.
Or sorry, did not single. She reached on an error, so she's 0 for 3. My apologies. I had it marked down on my sheet as a single, and then I saw that the official score gave it as an error, so I had to change it, but I didn't cross it out. So that ball gets away from Copeland, and that is ball 4. Or no, did that?
I don't know what happened. I think there was maybe some catcher interference, but I'm not sure.
And oh yeah, the ball just clipped her in the elbow.
Yeah, well, once again, in those lack of effort to move out of the way. We discussed this earlier today, right?
Not only lack of effort to move out of the way, but she did lean into it a little bit with the elbow there. So that's what Nova Scotia head coach Konigshofer is asking about. But the hit batsman drives in a run. So no RBI credited on the hit batsman forcing in the run from third. Ella Holm does come in to score. Darby Poole moves to third. Culleton to second. Johnson takes first base on that hit by pitch. That brings up Zoe Hicks. Hicks 0 for 1. She's reached base twice on walks. And now she is the potential lead run. Standing at the plate, but swings through that one in the count now 0-2. And we've mentioned it a few times, but it's worth mentioning again. The 2 victories for Team Manitoba in this tournament already both come from behind victories, both late in the game come from behind victories, and both significant margin come from behind victories. You know, it's one thing to be trailing 1-0 and then come back and win. It's another thing to be trailing 9-3 and come back, and it's another thing to be trailing by 4 and come back. So, you know, sometimes that stat of come from behind victories is misleading, but it's not the case at all with Manitoba. But there's a big strikeout. 9th K of the evening by McCauley.
What? Did someone get tossed?
I don't think so, or I don't know.
Umpire is taking some notes here.
From Manitoba, number 1, Mercedes Gorham.
Zoe Hicks does strike out, and I don't, We'll wait and see if...
He didn't like her attitude after the strikeout, and he tossed her. There you go.
Yeah, and that's Zoe Hicks who's done for the... Zoe Hicks has been kicked out of this ball game.
Wow. And she's a great player for Manitoba. They'll miss her.
Yeah. So Hicks gets tossed. That means somebody else is going to have to come in and play third base in the bottom of the 6th. We'll wait and see who that ends up being.
Used Senf earlier.
So they still have Sarah Moyer, Jewel Thompson, and Leah Peich available on the bench. And we'll see which one of those 3 players ends up coming in. As yes, Horizon Senf is did pinch hit earlier in this inning. And that one will get out into the outfield. 1 run will score, 2 runs will come in to score, and it's now 6-5. Don't look now, but Manitoba looking to do it again. 2-run single for Mercedes Gorham pulls the Manitoba team to within 1. And the very dangerous Amber Baker up to bat.
Number 28, Amber Baker.
2 away though, so Macaulay just needs to get 1 more out to get out of this inning, still with the lead.
Oh.
Baker takes a strike in the count.
Copeland did a great job framing that.
Baker just a little bit of a shrug there to say, oh, all right. Baker 0 for 2, also hit by a pitch, came around to score. That pitch misses high and outside, 1-1. Or 2-1, excuse me. The potential game-tying run standing at second base in the form of Jamie Johnson. The potential go-ahead run standing at first base in the form of Mercedes Gorham. As that ball...
Scrambling for souvenirs.
Yeah. Ended up going just a little bit off to our right.
I was going to ask, like, there should be a wall of kids chasing.
Amber Baker now 2-2 the count, 2 on, 2 out, so deuces all over the place.
Another one. Oh, does Copeland have a chance?
Copeland could not see that ball at all up in the night sky.
Carly Snow did a good run at it, but yeah, way out of reach.
Yeah, Snow was never going to get there. That ball was too far behind the plate. And if Copeland had been able to see it, she might have had a chance. But Copeland, you could see she was looking up and had no clue where that ball had gone. And we talked about it before, how hard it is for a catcher to first turn around, then get the gear set up in such a way that you can go after a ball, then find it up in the air. And that ball now 3-2.
Special last batter.
So 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out. Runners will be going with the pitch. There they go. And it just misses ball 4. Macaulay was starting to walk towards the dugout. But Baker gets the walk.
Another visit. This should be a change.
This will be a pitching change now, as the potential go-ahead run goes into scoring position. And there was someone warming up earlier for Team Nova Scotia. What an effort for Ellie Macaulay.
She stays in the game, just
we'll get they'll get her a different glove as she'll...
Katie Hagan coming in.
Hagan pitched yesterday. She'll take the mound again here today. And Macaulay getting
Jada Lee is not in the lineup, is she?
No, she's not in the lineup for tonight's game.
I figure this would be a good situation to bring in a fireballer like her.
I wouldn't argue against that. All right, so
Stuff mid-80s, I would say.
So as Katie Hagen starts to warm up, we'll try and figure out who's going to go where on the other changes on the defensive alignment. Hagen was playing second base. It looks like Ali Stymist is moving in from the outfield to become an infielder, so I'm guessing Stymist will take over at second.
Ali McCauley's gone to the outfield, I think.
Yes, McCauley will probably take over in center, as that was where she had played both of the previous games for Nova Scotia. So we'll just wait and see where everybody goes to when the dust settles here after the warm-up pitches for Katie Hagen. And this is basically a 4-out save situation, as I highly suspect that she will finish this game one way or the other.
Still think this would have been a great opportunity for Lee, but maybe she's not available.
Well, because she pitched yesterday, she'd have a limited pitch count today, and that limited pitch count would also affect her availability for the rest of the weekend, too, I think. So as we look around, we see Hood heading back to her spot in right field, and it is indeed...
Jada Lee is only 17, so I'm sure
so
pitch
yeah,
count
her pitch count is limited. Jenna Jackson still in left field, so that means that Ellie McCauley does indeed go to center. Ali Stymist does go from center to second base, so just a 3-person rotation. And the first pitch from Hagen misses low, ball 1. So again, to run you through those changes, it's 3 players who rotate. Ellie McCauley goes from the pitcher's mound to center field. Ali Stymist goes from center field to second base. And Katie Hagen goes from second base to the pitcher's mound. Here with 2 away, and a good solid pitch there makes it a 1-1 count with the bat in the hands of Caitlin Hepner. Hepner 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored, and a chance to try and possibly give Manitoba the lead back.
Good block by Copeland.
Manitoba did lead this game 1-0 with the run that they scored in the top of the second. Nova Scotia took the lead with 4 in the bottom of the third. Manitoba made it 4-2 when they got 1 in the fourth. Nova Scotia extended it to 6-2 with 2 in the bottom of the fifth. And another great pitch there by Hagen gets the count to 2-2. And 3 so far here in the top of the 6th inning for Manitoba has pulled them to within 6-5. And a called third strike
Great
ends
pitch.
the inning. And that is a huge strikeout for Katie Hagen. 10th strikeout overall by Nova Scotia pitching today after Ellie McCauley had 9 of them. But Manitoba doing what they do so well, working the comeback. They get 3 runs in the top of the 6th inning. Those 3 runs coming on just 1 hit. There was also 1 error in the 3 walks as McCauley, her arm was just running out of gas.
You know, I think she must have come close to 100 pitches, if not exceeded.
She did. I looked at the count. It was 114 when they brought her out. So you can't ask much more than that from, even as a senior ball player where there's no limit. When you get to 114 pitches,
your arm is rubber.
Against hitting of this quality too. It's that's a lot to ask. So a Yeoman's.
Who do you have playing third base now? Number 11.
That would be, just taking a look here, that would be Darby Poole, who was out in left field. She'll move in to play third base to take the defensive spot left by Zoe Hicks when Hicks got ejected.
Is now in right field.
That is Ella Holmes. She's still in right. It is Leah Peich, who moves into Hicks's spot in the batting order. She goes to left field, which is where Darby Poole had been. So Peich will take over Hicks's spot in the batting order.
3 runners left on base. The score after 5.5
And still on the mound, Mercedes Gorham.
More hitters in this.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. We're bottom of the 6th inning, but the top of the order.
Top of the order, Ellie McCauley, Ali Steiners, and Julia. Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to practice that at home tonight.
So yeah, again for Manitoba, with Zoe Hicks getting kicked out of the game, Leah Peich comes into her spot in the batting order. Peich is in left field, and Darby Poole, who had been playing left field, moves up to third base, which is the position vacated by Hicks. So, and Horizon Senth, just want to confirm, after she pinch hit in the top of the 6th inning, I want to confirm that she is out in center field, and it looks like she is indeed. So she pinch hit for the center fielder, Ali Neufeld, and remains in the game in that position.
Gorham's still pitching.
And Gorham still out there. She's thrown 97 pitches so far. And leading off, it is Ellie McCauley. McCauley 1 for 3 with a double, a run scored. She also reached on a fielder's choice. And first pitch right at Darby Poole, who her first play taking over at third base, throws it wild. And are we going to see interference called there as McCauley tried to make the turn but ended up bumping into Amber Baker?
Let's have a conversation.
And
watching the replay on, oh yes.
No, they're just saying she should have been able to turn well.
And Baker, I think part of the issue as well is that Baker was running towards the ball. Baker wasn't trying to run into the lane of McCauley. Baker was running towards the ball, and their paths happened to intersect.
McCauley could have sold it though, right?
She could have.
She could have tried to keep going, and you know, that might have attracted the call. But she, you know, resigned herself to go back to first, so it might have been questionable.
Part of it was that McCauley stopped. Part of it was that Baker was running on a direct path towards the ball.
Absolutely.
As much as the runner has a right not to be impeded, so too the defender has a right not to be impeded on their path to the ball. So I think those two factors together worked on that decision by the umpire. And so Ali Stymist comes up. She's 0 for 3 with the potential insurance run here in the bottom of the 6th inning. There's a throw over, and Baker gets the tag down, but McCauley once again, and now McCauley lost contact with the bag, and the tag is made.
They got her. Baker faked the throwback and waited for McCauley to leave the base, and oh my.
That a huge play as
yeah, Baker sold it pretty well. She made like a motion that was throwing that ball, put that back in her glove.
And she put it right back into her glove, and as McCauley gets up, she did lose contact.
I'm not sure. I'm watching the replay here. I think McCauley was foot on the base when he made that call, but you know, it's easy when we have hindsight, right?
And now the count on Stymist, who's now up with nobody on and 1 out. The count 2-0 to Ali Stymist, and that changes the complexion of this inning in a big way.
Absolutely, I think.
Left side, and it will fall in foul territory as Poole tried to get underneath it, but
I don't know how much third base Poole has played this year, but
Her foot, when she took her hand off the bag and went to put her foot on the bag, the foot didn't quite make contact.
Call timeout. Your hand's on the bag, you call timeout. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but Macaulay,
I don't know how many times I told my kids that. Call time.
grounded to short, gathered in by Hepner across the diamond in time, and it's now 2 away. Brings up Julia Konigshofer. She's 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored, as Nova Scotia trying to get some insurance here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Number 17, Julia Konigshofer.
Konigshofer grounded out in the 1st, walked and scored in the 3rd, flew out to right field in the 5th, and now comes up here with nobody on and 2 away in this wild bottom of the 6th inning. Wild 6th inning altogether. It was a wild top half and now a wild bottom half. And a hard hit ball right at Poole. She gathers that one in. A good throw across this time, so Darby Poole made the error to start the inning, but is able to redeem herself with a nice play at the 3rd out. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and nobody left on base. We'll go to the 7th. Manitoba needs 1 to force a bottom of the 7th and needs 2 to take a lead. And it will be the bottom of the order. The 7, 8, 9 hitters, Ella Holm, Darby Poole, and Horizon Senf, trying to get Manitoba 1 more comeback yet again. And we talked about the implication of this game in the standings. If Manitoba can pull off a comeback again, they'll go to 3-0. Nova Scotia will drop to 1-2. But if Nova Scotia gets the win, it's a 3-way tie for first going into the last round-robin games tomorrow. Manitoba will play Saskatchewan. Nova Scotia will play Ontario. Whoever wins the game between Nova Scotia and Ontario will get a spot in the quarterfinals if this game stays as it currently is. If Manitoba takes another comeback, then a whole bunch of things need to play out right. But if Nova Scotia gets the win here, then the host team is in a 1-game control your own destiny to get a spot in, at minimum. Actually, no, if they win that game against Ontario, even if Manitoba beats Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia would get first place in Pool B and therefore would get a spot directly into the semifinals
the record,
by the head-to-head win.
Correct.
Yeah, so this may be the 3 biggest outs of the tournament.
Thank God you're here, Mike, because
for
you've been digesting
Katie
this all
Hagen.
day long.
Katie Hagen got the last out of the top of the 6th and now needs to get 3 more to complete the save and give her team a huge victory. And it starts with a foul tip by Ella Holm. Holm 0 for 3, grounded out twice and reached on an error.
See if the umpire is all right here. He seems to be taking a second or two there.
As that foul tip came right back and caught him in the chest,
Yeah,
high in the chest as well.
Bottom of the mask. Here's Coach Bissonnette making sure that he's okay.
And as
Yeah, that's foul tip right in the bottom of the mask, but you know.
and as much as the coaches of both teams have disagreed with our home plate umpire tonight,
Yeah, no one wants ill will, right?
with that being Martin Stubbs again, you know, the old expression, between teams, it's adversaries, not enemies, and it's the same thing with the umpires.
Yeah.
You know, they are the 3rd team out there on the field, but not enemies by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, they also do have the power of ejection, right?
So maybe a little bit,
You
yeah.
want to make those guys enemies anyway, right?
Yeah, that one fouled off as well, so now the count 0-2 on home. Here's Hagen with the 0-2 pitch. That'll miss high, 1 and 2.
The right pitch to throw at that count.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can get her to chase.
Yeah, she had 2 hacks at that before. You can come back with a nice high heat. Hopefully she chases that.
Shakes off the first sign, takes the second one, throws high again. And it's now 2 and 2. Home, Pool, and Senf due up here in the 7th. Manitoba needs a run. Fouls that one off. A tough pitch down in the zone, but
good defense.
Great defensive swing by Home, yeah. And again, those games tomorrow in Pool B will be the 12 o'clock or 12:30 games. 12 o'clock here at Mainland Commons between Nova Scotia and Ontario 2. 12:30 over at Weir Field between Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And there's a swing and a miss for a strikeout. Second strikeout for Hagen, 11th overall.
Second strikeout and second hitter, she said.
That's right. Brings up Darby Poole. Poole 1 for 2. Reached on an error in the second. An RBI double in the 4th. Walked and came around to score in the 6th. And currently
Oh, no worse for her. Hit her helmet, but bounces up.
Yeah, she'll be okay. Darby Poole gets on base for the 4th time.
She tried to avoid that pitch, right?
Yeah.
She did.
And yeah, an off-speed pitch. So
now batting for Manitoba, number 17, Joe Thompson.
And so Horizon Senf will be pulled for a pinch hitter. Jewel Thompson coming in. So Thompson comes on here with 1 on, 1 out in the top of the 7th inning. The potential tying run standing at first base right now for Team Manitoba in the form of Darby Poole, who was hit by a pitch to get first base. And the first pitch taken by Thompson misses, or is called a strike.
Oh, it was a late strike.
And the count 0-1. I thought that pitch missed low, but the call is a strike, so 0-1. And another strike, that one 0-2.
Yeah, great pitch. That was a great pitch.
No doubt about that second one. And here comes the 0-2. Fouled off. The high heat, great swing by Thompson to get a piece of that one. As Caitlin Culleton, the Manitoba catcher, in the on-deck circle. That one right back to Hagen. She has trouble getting a handle on it, eventually does, and throws to first for the second out of the inning. Darby Poole advances to second base on the play, but Manitoba now down to their final out.
I don't know if Hagen was thinking about going to second on this one, but
I think she might have thought about it for a second, but realized
after
that first bobble, there was no play at second base.
Go with the easy play at that point.
Get the out, and she does. So we're now down to Caitlin Culleton, who is 1 for 3. She singled, flew out to center, grounded out to short, walked and scored. And the game-tying run now in scoring position at second base. Swing and a miss. As Hagen 1 out away from getting the 4-out save and saving the victory for her starting pitcher, Ellie McCauley. That one just misses high, 1-1. And again, the ramifications, if Nova Scotia wins this game, and they would be in a 3-way tie with Manitoba and Ontario, and then if Nova Scotia beats Ontario tomorrow, they would get first place in Pool A. That pitch misses inside. 2-1 now the count. For Manitoba, 2 comeback victories already, trying to make it 3 in a row. That one's in there for a called strike 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and a runner on base number 2.
Yeah, 2's are wild.
Every now and then when I'm calling a real good hockey game, I use the expression, if you're not enjoying this game, you don't like hockey. If you're not enjoying this game, you don't like baseball.
There you go, there you go.
And now it's a full count as that pitch misses inside. 3-2. I know my volume's getting a little bit high, but I can't help it. And there's a swing and a miss, strike 3. And Katie Hagen finishes off the save with 3 strikeouts out of the 4 outs that she gets. And her teammates mob her and show their appreciation. The comeback kids end up falling just short this time. A 6-5 game that goes down right to the last possible pitch.
So let's have that conversation again. Who's our player of the game? Macaulay?
I think it still has to be Macaulay. I mean, 5 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, Hagen coming in with the 4-out save and throwing 3 strikeouts out of those 4 outs. Yeah, you got to talk about her too.
Carly Snow had another good game.
Carly Snow had a good game, but you got to go with Macaulay. I mean, 114 pitches. And Manitoba side, I really like Amber Baker. You know,
she wasn't very effective at the plate.
She was not, but I mean, you look at the other stat lines at the plate. Nobody really had a huge game offensively. It was quite spread out. I mean, Manitoba only ended up with 4 hits. They got 5 runs on 4 hits. So they're, you know, and those 4 hits. One of them was Mercedes Gorham.
Yeah.
One of those hits was Darby Poole. So Gorham had a hit, Poole had a hit, Culleton had a hit, and it is Mercedes Gorham. She pitched a whale of a game, absolutely. You know, a complete game. Giving up 6 runs on 7 hits. And it goes to the save, Katie Hagen.
What did she do at the plate today?
Hagen, she went 1 for 2 with an RBI, or a 2-run double, and also reached on a walk. So she got on base 2 of her 3 plate appearances, drove in 2 runs, and had a 4-out save with 3 strikeouts of those 4 outs. Yeah. And played good second base before moving to the mound as well. And did Macaulay get player of the game in one of the games earlier as well?
She might have.
She might have. So that again
maybe
throws,
it's share the wealth.
You know,
as a coach, you want to make sure you don't reward the same player all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. She might have gotten it already. So yeah, that makes complete sense.
And even, you know, I'm not going to argue against Hagen in any way, shape, or form. If it had gone to Macaulay, you know, there'd be no way you'd argue against her either. Not arguing against Gorham. Like I said, I like Baker, but you know, I'm not going to argue.
Defense rarely wins the player of the game.
That's true.
The thing, right?
And, you know, I was never an offensive star in any of the sports that I played, so I always, you know, have a bit of a soft spot for the defensive players. But that's going to do it for us here tonight on day number 2. What a day of baseball, and we still have 2 more days left, you know.
We're lucky to be here.
We are. You cannot say enough how good the ball has been, and this last game in particular was just fantastic. Nova Scotia coming away with a big victory, so they now control their destiny. With a win tomorrow, they will win Pool B and go directly to the semifinals. Until tomorrow, when we bring you a big game between Quebec and Alberta in Pool A at 9 o'clock bright and early. On behalf of the wonderful, the fantastic, the magnificent even, Eric Fougier, this is Michael Penner saying, may your pitches hit the corners and may your liners reach the fence. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night.
You don't know if you don't ask. Right? Okay, see you guys later.
Yeah, take care. Good night.
You too.